What is up, Truth and Transparency? How are we doing? Come on in. Those of you guys that just joined me on that last live. Really interesting. We're going to talk about who in the hell is the defense going to call for a month straight. You guys, a month is a long time. Let's talk about it. The defense witnesses. I already think the prosecution's case has more holes in it than Swiss cheese, but let's see.
Listen, folks, I know there's a history here. I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
You guys can find that link. I just posted it and pinned it. If you're Aunt Taylor, who are you calling to the stand? Who are you staying away from as well?
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you? All right. Who's responsible here?
What's that?
Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Yeah, have been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay. Drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really? You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking to the car and the other one.
Shitty parents.
Truly
like
to the
this
wind.
tea. Tonight's live is sponsored by Shitty Parents who drink twisted tea and Fireball.
That I was given to.
What's up,
There's
guys?
2 different discs. Okay, they all knew about it.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, we have an issue.
Boom. All right, guys, what's up? Welcome. Come on in. She's calling Dawn Daniels all day. I went ahead and shared that link. Tell me what you guys think. Who in the hell is the defense going to call for a month straight? The defense says, yeah, we need about like a month for our case. So that's after everybody that the state calls. They're going to cross-examine those people. They could possibly recall people to the stand, but who is the defense going to call? I have a good suggestion. I'll come up. Good, hit that link. Start us off right. Come on up here. So who's the defense going to call? I mean, do you guys know how long a month is? Obviously, some experts, maybe just not some, but who is the defense going to call? Teresa B's like every frat boy. You know, are you going to use the body cam and say, hey, frat kids, that you guys were always over there at Hunter, you had no problem lying to the cops. You knew who lived there, but you didn't tell them. You know, you lied to them now. Why should we believe you? You were lying to them then. And so when the cops ask you these questions, you know, why should we believe you? What's up, Eddie? How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
This
right.
might take just a minute or two to build, but I have a good suggestion.
Okay, so we're going to go with this. These are lay witnesses. So obviously, like we went kind of through the experts, not experts.
Not an expert?
Well, I mean, if you want to say some experts, that's fine. But we all know that they're gonna come with their experts. So, do you think you saw the list I kind of made? Do you think that there's anybody else besides that, like specialty wise?
do you have a digital forensics expert?
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be huge for timeline as well, I think.
And what is the purpose? I must not have watched.
It was just yesterday. I just kind of listed them. I didn't really go through like the purpose of it. It was just like what Ann Taylor said, 25. We've retained 25 experts. It's like, okay, woo. All right, let's, I wonder.
Can I cover this expert witness? Because I don't have a layperson.
Oh yeah, who do you think is going to be used?
Okay, it'll take just a minute or two to build this all up, but
you're fine.
It's all important. So for the longest time, well over a year, probably a year and a half ago, I wrote this whole thing up about the sheath, when it was placed there.
Okay, place, yes.
So so I listed two different options. It was placed there before the 911 call or after.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of those two possibilities, it breaks down into two more options. It has DNA on it or it doesn't have DNA on it. For example, and I won't go through it all, it'll take too long. But for example, like if it was planted there at the crime scene before the 911 call with DNA on it, what does that mean? How does that look? So it would indicate very malicious and extremely detailed plan.
Okay.
And a strong argument for being placed there before the 911 call is the 8-hour delay. It is the most ideal time to put it there as there are no witnesses. But an argument against it would be, why not just dump it right there on the floor by the bed?
Okay. So, like, why not just here? I'm going to pull up something really quick. All right, guys, welcome. I'm going to mute that too, because I can show okay, here we go. This might help too when I get to like the part where we're able to. All right. You can't find any of this stuff anymore, so I have to go to like my old stuff. Let's see. I just want to go to that room. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, right there. Look at that tight spot. That's your Dylan spot. Like that's Dylan's room. That's how tight that is.
It's tight.
Right? Look at that. I mean, how do you come on, man? Come on. So,
you gonna take us upstairs? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it upstairs for you. There you go. So you can go ahead and say what you're gonna say. That way you kind of get a nice little look of, what it is.
So you would just dump it on the floor if it was that well planned out. Why go through the trouble? That takes a lot of work to carefully place it on the bed by the bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if it came into the crime scene after the 911 call, I automatically discounted that it has Brian's DNA on it, because that is not that much time. If it is that well thought out, then if it has his DNA on it, those are just hours apart, being after the 911 call or during the time of the crime. So you would just put it there with the DNA on it before the 911 call. So the only other option then would be if it came in after the 911 call, it didn't have his DNA on it. But as difficult as it is for me to believe a sterile sheath was placed after the 911 call, it is even more difficult for me to believe that a sheath was placed before the 911 call with Brian's DNA on it. Can you think of any other options besides before or after the 911 call that the sheath was placed? I never could.
I would think that it's kind of possible for hold on. I think I passed it up then.
I can never think of another reason beyond those two options to consider, but I recently did.
Are you talking about in between the two swipes with like the ISP
Like
came?
what accounts for that sheath? How did it get there, right? I mean, we know what we know. We can just say planted. Let's just, for the purpose of our conversation, we're not going to say placed.
Okay.
I understand.
I think placed means planted, but they're just using that language, just so you know.
Yeah, they have to be very careful. Jay has to be very careful. He can't say planted. Because that would, the reaction would be, oh, indeed, it was planted there. Well, what proof do you have of that? Please do show us, right? So I understand why that language has to be used. You have to be very careful about it. But, okay, in that PCA, it says it was later noticed. So that kind of suggests that there is no body cam of it, or maybe no photos taken of it lying there next to Maddie's body. And if that's the case, then that only means one thing. It's pretty easy to decipher what that means if there's no photos of it, right?
Yeah. Do you think that there's no photos of it? You think that it's not on a body cam?
Well, if there isn't, then that's very telling. I mean, that's like too easy to figure out. I mean, that's just telltale. In the January 26th hearing,
I don't believe that there's. I don't believe that there's body cam of it.
I don't think so either.
The reason I don't believe there's body cam of it is based on where it was allegedly found. How could there be body cam of it if you think about it?
There might be a photo of it though.
No, I'm more or less talking about. I'm talking about pure the body cam photos. I mean.
So remember the January 26th hearing, Anne mentioned some of the problems with the discovery coming in, and one of them being the 13,000 photographs not being indexed. So it cannot be determined the date they were taken or what officers took them. So I wonder if these photographs answer any of the questions about the sheath. And that is as far as I got with the write-up of this whole idea of mine of like trying to figure out when not trying to figure it out, we'll never figure it out, but trying to understand more thoroughly about when the sheath could have been put there. But the funny thing is, in this third option just struck me just like only a couple weeks ago for some reason. Now we're gonna have to put our tinfoil hat on here for just a little bit, but just a little bit, and not severely going into the tinfoil hat territory. It's not as much of a tinfoil theory is like thinking Brian Koberger had anything to do with this crime, tinfoil hat theory. But so we're going to talk about a movie that I watched like about 2 weeks ago, and it is the 2009 thriller with Michael Douglas, and it's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
And this might explain a third possibility of that sheath that I had never considered before watching this movie. And I'd never seen this movie before in my life. So the movie, briefly, so it's got Michael Douglas. He's a prosecutor who is moving up in the world, and he's looking to run for governor. And it hasn't hurt his cause that his last 17 cases have all led to convictions. And all of those trials were the result of circumstantial evidence, forensic evidence, DNA evidence, being the reason that the guilty verdicts in those trials. His latest trial was where a woman was shot 3 times, and the killer remembered to police up the 3 spent cartridge casings, but forgot to pick up a cigarette butt, which was laying there right next to the body. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being the detective or the prosecutor? I mean, what a gift. Isn't that awesome? It makes your job so easy.
Yeah.
It's just like unbelievable luck.
You pick up the shell casings, but forget to pick up the cigarette butt.
Yes. Yep. That's the only thing that was left was something with his DNA on it. Now the good guy in this story, he's a journalist, and he knows something is wrong because that's just not real life. That's just too good to be true, right? Mm-hmm. So he goes to his boss and he says, I got this idea for a story. I know what is up. The cigarette butt was obtained by the detectives, and it was planted. And his boss says, well, what is you need proof? And he says, yes, I have the proof. Here's a video of him, the suspect, being interviewed. And he is smoking a cigarette butt. And that is how they got his DNA. And his boss said, you're not going to work on the story because that video of him being interrogated is 3 days after the crime took place. So, of course, he wasn't allowed to. But as we all know, we can just go ahead and guess that he went and did his own investigating, and on the side, as all good movies go, he's going to solve it himself, right? And so the thing is now he must solve this mystery, and to get to the point is how it was done in the end was that the crime scene photo was altered. The cigarette butt was put into the photo after the fact, days after the fact. And of course, a digital forensic expert, who in the movie is, of course, portrayed as a geeky lab type persona, he can prove and show that the photo was manipulated using science. So, is that how it went here? We don't know. But it's got to be one of those possibilities. I mean, I think we covered it all now. When did that sheath become into the crime scene? Right?
Yeah.
Or was it just manipulated there into a photo? And that's why it had to be on the bed, under the covers, partially under a body, because otherwise, if it was put there before the 911 call, you just dump it on the floor. You don't have to be careful. You have to be careful that you don't get your own DNA on it. So you just, it's in that Ziploc bag, and you just turn the bag upside down and dump it out on the floor for the detective to find. But it wasn't done that way. So why the need to put it where it was found? And that's a clue to when or how this was done. It gets you thinking anyway.
So you're thinking that it could have been photoshopped in?
Well, I don't know. I haven't really done any sleuthing to see if, that's of course a movie, but think of it. That's 2009 when that movie was done. So, I mean, oftentimes fiction follow, what is the saying? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to. But what gave the idea for that movie, oftentimes the facts will cause the idea for the movie. Now, I guess, can a crime scene photo be altered? And is that what was done here? We can only theorize it. If Anne suspects it, she'll have the ability to prove it, but it's something to think about. So, is she going to call a digital forensics expert? I guess is my.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. They are. I think what's always been interesting to me is to know that there was like 2 days of the processing of the scene. My understanding that there was on the 13th, and that they were back there on obviously the 14th, because we have drone footage of them, going back there. The drone footage that we have is not from the 13th that ISP put out. That's like, that drone footage was from the next day.
Right.
And it was actually, I question if it's from ISP ever. And if it's not, I think there was a guy that actually did it, but he lived over in that area. But that's the one where we see like stuff's falling out of the back of that truck, and they're just picking it up and roll, All right, this is it could have been. I'll just keep on going.
And it shows us the two parallel, where the student peeled out with his car. It's two parallel tracks, right? With the burnout marks, the squealing of the tires. It shows us that, and it shows us that there's not much snow. Because there's another aerial drone later on at a different later date that had more snow. So yeah, I know which one you're speaking of.
Yeah. I mean, that house is so, it's so small. It's truly not a big house for a 6-bedroom, 3-bath, the square footage. And look at that. There was just a desk that was on the opposite end there. But I'm almost convinced that for both of the girls to remain on that bed, being that small, was such ruckus, and that one of them wouldn't be actually on the floor. It's interesting to me.
Well, they weren't sleeping either. So this nonsense of them sleeping, this stranger walking into a room and attacking people while they sleep, that's just silliness.
That's just silliness, says Eddie. That's just silly. I think the digital evidence can easily prove that this attack happened after the 252 calls, and that's why there was no more, but just you look at that, how small that truly is. It's just, it's hard enough to sleep 2 people on a bed like that.
Last time we spoke, we were talking about that discovery, the deadline for the discovery, and they were asked by the judge how much of that is new. So
I think
another idea that came to me afterwards is, so if any of that is new discovery, wouldn't that also be new to the prosecution as well?
It should be.
All things being authentic and genuine here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
No funny business. But yeah, you would think it would be new to them too.
Yeah, they should be saying things like, we have to go through it too. We just turned it over to what should have been said in my opinion is we just turned that over to the defense. We had just received it. So it's, we're still going through it as well. That would to me seem like genuine. If I just got something from the FBI or based off of what you guys were asking for. So we're trying to locate this stuff, putting it all together, putting it on a hard drive. And just because you located something, you guys, and you were like, okay, boom, it's going on this hard drive. Boom, it's going on this. Who's looking, who's reading through it? Who's, we're just adding all this stuff. But I would have to say, the stuff that they were asking for, it got put on this hard drive. So it's just as much new to us as it would be to them. Or if it was information that was even not provided, if it was just straight from the FBI, then how would the state ever have gone through that? Because remember, we turned over everything that does not exist. So whatever Miss Taylor is thinking that exists, it just does not exist. Okay. So that means at that point, Santa, when you said that, anything that they would have been asking for in supplemental requests, you would have never seen because you don't think it exists. And so everything should be new to you every time the defense is asking for something in a supplemental request. Make sense?
Yeah. Do you think there will be another supplemental request?
I think at this point it's just a motion to compel. Also at this point it's also a motion to suppress any other evidence. Because the way that it works is that there's a deadline for a reason, and the deadline is to make it so that here at the 11th hour, you can't say, oh my gosh, here, we just found this, or we just got this and we're going to use it. No, you can't use that. Like, if you didn't disclose it in discovery at that deadline, now you can use stuff to like impeach witnesses and like rebuttals and stuff like that. But for the state, what the state's going to be using against Brian Kober, all that stuff had to be turned over. And if it wasn't, you can't use it. That's how that works. So,
Any other people waiting backstage?
no,
Oh,
no.
okay. Well, I'll just share one more thought with you.
Hey, Lana, the only thing that's going to turn my way of thinking against BK is if the DoorDash driver says BK is the person who received the food. LOL, how's that for a reach? One. No, you guys, the evidence should turn everybody. Like if we go and watch this trial and, you know, the state just starts pumping out like all this evidence, you know, even circumstantial stuff, like the evidence is the evidence. But I watched the whole Karen Reed case. Anybody think Karen Reed did it? I don't think Karen Reed did it. I didn't think she did before the trial, but I went in there saying, hey, if there's going to be evidence, I think what is really sus is her interaction with Higgins. I think that if Karen Reed felt anything, she may have felt guilty for like, oh my God, did I get John O'Keefe beat up because I messed with Higgins? You know, there may be some, my feeling like I feel guilty, but I didn't fucking hurt that man. I didn't do anything to that man, you know? But no, that's the only thing that I saw in court that nobody knew about was the Higgins part. So, you're gonna have to prove to me pretty hardcore this time frame of the crime. You're gonna have to really like the time of the crime is everything. And this is such a small window that they're saying that it's Brian Kober, and Ann basically is saying that vehicle that you say is Brian's that's traveling across so that you can make it your Washington vehicle is your Moscow vehicle. That vehicle on Floyd's is not Brian's. So now you're fucked. And if that can be hardcore proven that is not Brian's vehicle, the Floyd camera, that is going to be ridiculously detrimental for the state's case. Because you can't just like, poof, here's a car, it's Brian Kohlberger's. Like, this is not how it works. You can do that if, oh, yeah, you have his phone there, he's peeing on a tower and all that stuff. But you got none of that. In fact, you don't. It's actually the opposite. You don't have that. And so you just can't pick up a car and say, oh, that's Brian Kohlberger's. You know? And Ann came out like hardcore saying that with the alibi. But that is not Brian Kohlberger's vehicle. And because we can place Brian Kohlberger's vehicle somewhere else, and there's data, like that type of shit. I'm really curious to see, like, you know, there's a month of witnesses. They say that it's going to take them to get through to present their case. And that would be after they get to cross-examine everybody. You know, so I'm just so curious. These witnesses, you know, are you calling people like I believe that there was a ton of suspects before they latched on and said, okay, it's Brian Kohlberger. I think there was suspects. I think there was people of interest and they had labeled them as persons of interest. And I'm interested to see who these people are because they are so relevant for the defense. They're so relevant to ask those questions why you thought that they were suspects.
Let me ask you right there what you mean by that. Do you mean genuinely like the investigators
100%.
thought of other suspects, or
yes,
that
100%.
they were looking into other suspects just so that they have documented on their investigation that they played the part like they were looking into other suspects?
You can never, there is no way that 120 people were compromised for a setup. Okay. There's no way. So people would have had different roles in this case. And whoever they were interviewing and the reports that were generated from that, they generated persons of interests. And they're 100%, just like in the Dr. Moore case, okay, there was 7 persons of interest before Dr. Moore. But do I believe that they had planned on pinning this on Dr. Moore before the murder happened? Absolutely. But you can't, like, the whole state of, and who is working on Dr. Moore's case isn't involved in something like that. It's not everybody involved in something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why.
It's like,
that's why I believe that, yeah, there's going to be definitely persons of interest. And a person of interest is someone that either A, has information, B, you think that they're a suspect. You can label them either way, but I 100% believe that there was suspects. They did not release Jack D publicly like they did other people. I think the hoodie guy is a person of interest. There's no doubt about it. He may not have anything to do with it, okay? But he was 100% a person of interest until they ruled him out. But let's hear how you ruled him out, you know? We just, you know, his DNA didn't match the sheath. If their way of ruling people out was that their DNA did not match the sheath's DNA, that is not going to be good for the prosecution. Not when this case can easily be said to have more than one suspect, more than one perpetrator that did this. I think this jury is going to have a really hard time. Can you imagine? I mean, staying focused for that long. Annie says there was definitely other suspects. They were taking phones, grabbing discarded cigarettes, etc. Yeah, they were 100%. And I think it's really interesting that Steve Gonsalves says, I hope they picked the right person. Okay. That's because I believe that I think that Olivia and Steve 100% are going to be called as witnesses in this case. I think what they were told is relevant.
let me stop you right there and and share this thought with you, because it goes hand in hand with what you're talking about right now. So on the 14th, this is just hours, you know, just a day after the crime, there was one of the first news that we received from mainstream media, and it was Janelle Finch on Creme 2 News on the 14th sharing this statement on behalf of the Gonsalves family. And it is this, and it is, I'll quote it. Let me find my place here. Stop spreading rumors about what happened and wait for the facts from police.
Yeah, we're kidding.
Now,
hey guys, we're still waiting.
But that never struck me until just recently. Of course, in that moment, when we were all in that moment on that date, it doesn't, pique your interest and give you an idea maybe there's something off there. But over time, think of that, how early on that statement was put out. And then there's really two parts to that statement. It is stop spreading rumors, and then also wait for the facts from police. Now, why would a family say that? If you ask your family members, would you say that? Wait for the facts from police. That seems like it originated from the police, not a statement from the family.
I have a question for you. Do you think that when he's saying, I also later noticed what appears to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogen's right side, do you think that could be when the detective was looking at pictures
Yeah.
I later noticed, like when he's going through his digital camera to be like, oh my God, I didn't even see this. But because the way that it was underneath, like I didn't get up that close. You know, I didn't get all up in the crime scene like that because I wanted to be processed first. But then I was looking at the pictures and I noticed that from the pictures, based on a couple of these, because the way that they do them is you can like zoom in and stuff like that. So it's something interesting now. That is that a possibility that I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side.
So it suggests it's not in the body cam, doesn't it?
Say, what was that? What'd you say? Suggested? I don't think it is in the body cam.
No, I don't.
I don't think it's going to be in the body. I don't think it's going to be in a body cam.
You're right.
I don't. I think that and I think it not having any, like if it just has one single source, that leads me to believe there's no blood on it. You know what I mean? Like,
see, it's hard to place the sheath after the 911 call during the investigation because there's people that are genuinely there. You know, there's going to be ISP forensics experts, right?
well, if you think
Looking
about it,
around.
like, okay, so
There's going to be
Payne did,
witnesses.
okay, so think about this though. Payne didn't he didn't process the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Did Payne process the scene? And from my understanding, he did not.
Right.
Idaho State Police processed the scene. So is it at all possible that now we take a look at this in this? I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. Did he notice that through pictures? Like through the crime scene photos, that because he looked at those after the fact, and that's when he noticed that.
And Ann still doesn't have the ability
and that kind of goes
to
with your
determine who took those pictures and when they were taken, does she? She's on the record saying that.
I think that could also lead to Jay saying the placed sheath. You know, that's like.
Well, yeah, they have the
like
accused.
Like,
they know he wasn't there. So, yeah, how did it? Please explain to us. How did it get there? When did it get there?
Let me show.
Can you imagine?
Let me show you what else I want you to hear. I want you guys to hear Olivia's first interview that she does. What's his name? Like after Olivia, her interview after the arrest, right here. So I listened to this again. Okay. So let me do this for us. Okay. So this is right after his arrest. Okay. Right after the arrest of Brian Koberger. And it was.
I want to bring in Kaylee's sister now, Olivia. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Olivia. I remember from when we first started communicating, when all of this began, you told me that you believed that this was going to be a stranger who came into the house. And according to the police, you were right the way that all of this played out. But what did you think when you first learned that Brian Koberger was the suspect?
I think we always presume, innocence. I don't think it really hit me until the affidavit was released and I was able to kind of read that and process that. And then you not only have a name and a face, but, the beginnings of a case against him.
You have been working so hard behind the scenes, and I don't think a lot of people realize that because in many ways your dad has sort of been the face of the family. But since the beginning, you've been digging into this and trying to find leads and sending things to the police. And you told me that, you didn't feel like you would be able to really grieve until there was an arrest made. Do you feel like now you're able to do that?
I think my family as well as myself are starting to get there. And it's kind of an odd time to do that, being that we still have such a long road ahead of us. but the relief that we all felt having a suspect in custody was, it was like, I can't even describe it. Like the weight of the world was lifted from our shoulders.
The court process now, though, I mean, that's, your dad has told me that can be overwhelming to think about, the fact that you guys are going to have to be in court. Do you plan to be at the hearings?
Yeah, every single one.
One thing back to the affidavit that I think a lot of people were surprised by was the fact that one of their roommates was awake when the killer walked by, and that the 911 call wasn't made until hours and hours later. Do you know any more about why that might be?
I don't have any other information for that. I do know Dylan is really young, and she was probably really, really scared. And until we have any more information, I think everyone should stop passing judgments, because you don't know what you would do in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's people online, obviously, it's totally inappropriate at this point. And you're right. No one knows how they would handle a situation like that or what was really happening. I mean, we only know what's in the probable cause so far. Is there anything you've learned that connects Kohberger to any of the victims here? Last I talked to your dad, he said the family was looking for connections, but there wasn't anything really apparent at this point.
Yeah, I think we're still going to keep looking. I've had a lot of people reach out with, Instagram posts, or even a Spotify, or lots of connections that they've been able to find. And those are super valuable. All of those go over to, the Moscow Police Department, as well as the Idaho State Police and the FBI, because nothing is insignificant at this point, and everything is being looked through.
There's this feeling that many have shared that perhaps Kohberger was watching the interviews, was in the Facebook groups, was on Twitter. Do you get a sense that might be the case, that he was almost watching all of this as it played out?
I do. A lot of that comes from the fact that he had visited the home so many times before, late at night, early hours. He's presented this pattern of behavior. He went.
Whoa.
Right there. I was waiting for that bomb right there. So again, I want everybody to hear it when they want to talk about who is spreading this stuff. Okay. Kohberger visiting the home.
Late at night, early hours. He's presented this pattern of behavior. He went back to the home the morning of, before police had been called, I think to see if his circus, so to say, had started to unfold. And I think that he would not have been able to refrain from engaging with the online communities, the theories, the conspiracies, and everything in between.
How did you first?
She says that he went back to the home that morning. One more time.
I do. A lot of that comes from the fact that he had visited the home so many times before, late at night, early hours. He's presented this pattern of behavior. He went back to the home the morning of, before police had been called, I think to see if his circus, so to say, had started to unfold. And I think that he would not have been able to refrain from engaging with the online communities, the theories, the conspiracies, and everything in between.
How did you first find out, Olivia, that there was an arrest?
My mom actually told me. I had been staying at her house. Me and my husband were upstairs, and she came up the stairs. It was probably around 11 o'clock at night, the day before the arrest had been made. At the time, we didn't know what state, and we didn't even have a name. We just knew that a suspect was in custody.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
That's not what I was told, but I'll leave it at that. What do you think?
That's scary.
This was January 3rd, I want to say. Let me see. I'll double check on that date. Oh, wait, hold on. January 8th, 2023. The gag order was put in place when?
Can't help you.
I think it was January 3rd. We can double check, but anyways, wanted to see. Yeah. So I think that this all might have been from the as far as seeing stuff, saying that you saw it from the pictures or something like that. It's interesting. Bang bang, Atlanta, booms after booms. I just can't have those booms. I can't get over that bedroom, man. That bedroom is so small. And I wouldn't there have been of like I could just think that there would have to be at least one person that would have been on the floor. I don't know if that was truly a twin bed. If it was it a double? But it's just whoo. So,
well, that statement, and that statement, Olivia was not on the news that on the 14th of November with Creme 2. Janelle Finch was just reading and sharing a statement from Olivia on behalf of the Gonzalez family. And again, it was stop spreading rumors about what happened and wait for the facts from police. Now, why would they have the need to say that so early on, right? Is my question. It seems suspect.
I don't know why. Every time I listen to the police were saying that two girls were down here in these bedrooms, and now all of a sudden the PCA comes out, remember? And boom, now Dylan was up in her actual bedroom. I don't believe my gut. I'm going with my gut. And my gut is saying that the reason that Bethany would have exculpatory evidence for Brian Kohlberger would be because Bethany is placing Dylan downstairs or not at the house, which then would be exculpatory because then Dylan didn't see any guy with no bushy eyebrows because she wasn't there in that position. I think that it's highly relevant to see how lit up that room, that front room is, that big living room with that neon sign, and you guys can see how tight it is. And there is no way in hell, if Dylan opens up her door not once but 3 times, that she's able to elude this man, whoever this person is. If it's Brian, it's Brian. If it's not, it's not. But whoever it is, that would have been story number 1. And if she says any other story before she says that, I'm not believing it. I don't care. Like, that's me. I also don't believe that she would have heard things like somebody, the stuff that she says that she did hear versus the stuff that she didn't hear. What do you mean Kaylee's playing with a dog upstairs at 4:00 in the fucking morning? Kaylee doesn't do that. That's but they're making it so they already have a reason. They're already providing a reason as to why she didn't, or what she would have heard this. What did she think it was? I just thought it was Kaylee playing with the dog. Look, right here. This right here. It's just, everything's just so tight in this house. And it's for 6 bedrooms, 3 baths on each level, 2 bedrooms on each. And the square footage of this house, it's just not big. The walls are paper thin. And I'm sorry, if anybody was staking out this house and this was a targeted attack, you're going off that balcony right there to get the fuck out of there. You don't need to go back downstairs. So you would have never walked back downstairs, in my opinion, when you could have just hopped off this balcony. And it's just right there. I've been there. That would be your way out, period.
No matter where you
back
put
downstairs.
No matter where they have Dylan, it's problematic, because if they said that she was sleeping downstairs on the first level, there's going to be a problem. She's going to have to explain that away. Or if you put her in her bedroom.
And see right there how they say originally.
That's
Right
very
there.
problematic because she's right there in the midst of it all. And between those, the time of those press conferences and press releases and the time of the arrest, when they finally released the PCA, they had time to work on that narrative. No matter what, it's going to be a challenge to put her in that bedroom and to make it make sense. But that's why it doesn't make any sense. This whole shock phase and opening the door 3 times. This whole business is just fantasy. But
it's fantasy. It is.
The question is, did they coerce her? I mean, she's going to testify to that, if there is a trial. But was she manipulated into saying that?
The other thing here is that DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom. Do you guys know what that means? If she's saying that she originally said that, okay, it's their way of already covering for the fact that Dylan made multiple motherfucking statements, y'all. It's right there in the PCA. Dylan made multiple statements because DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the second floor. Okay. You cannot awake yourself at 4 a.m. if you just went to bed at 4 a.m. Okay. All persons were in their rooms by 2 a.m. and asleep by 4 a.m. How can you go to bed at 4 a.m. but yet wake up at 4 a.m.? So we're going to have to figure out what time Dylan actually went to bed. But by DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom. She originally said that. Then she switched to something else. Okay. But then we had to pin her down and get her to say this. I believe that they had to type this up like this because there are interviews or interrogations that prove that DM has made multiple statements, doesn't know shit. Okay. And then came with, yeah. Well, I told police that, yeah, I went to bed in my room at first, but then what? So the way Dee's door opens, she wouldn't have seen the suspect. Now we'll take a look at that. I'm like, originally, DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom because what? Then she decided I'm gonna go. Remember, then she closed the door, locked the door, went to bed. All these interviews, I promise you, are recorded, but the ones that aren't, there's a reason that they're not. Look at right there. It opens inside. You guys see that right there? I'll rewind it for you. It's going to come right here. So this is your, okay. Now, let's go to the left right there. A little bit more. Because this is so close. Right there. Opens that door 3 times. Open, close, open, close, open, close. You don't think somebody is going to hear that? And then just stands. And I still have questions about her looking out that window. Could she have looked out that window? But this door opens inward, okay? So it opens in. And when it opens in, there's no way that you're just like, who would be peeking out? You have no reason to be scared. She's going to get ate up alive at this point, right? When this comes, there is no reason to open up your door and just go like this. Like you're like, I'm just going to peek out. No, you would open up your door and it would be all the way open. And you would step out of your room.
Nothing that night even happened that way.
So
you follow what I'm saying? That's all just fantasy.
No, but what I'm just saying is logic. This is logic.
Yeah, logic.
Nobody opens up their door if you're not you don't peek. Okay? So I'm just saying, like, if they even just try to say, like, so would you were like just open, you peeked out? Like, if you're opening up that door, you think that this killer who just killed 4 people, what's one more? Isn't gonna you're gonna leave a witness? Also, you don't think that this person's gonna call the cops? You don't think this person's gonna call the cops? You're just going to leave this witness. I don't like whoever is going to believe that, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to hear this from Dylan. But what this is written on this piece of paper, if you want me to believe that from based off of this piece of paper and what I know about how the Idaho State Police work, no, I'm good. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Here's a fascinating question. When was this thing first on?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Like, what would cause, I mean, is Corporal Brett Payne sincere when he writes that up? Does he believe all that, or is he an actor? Is he doing his part as he's directed?
I want to change my chat to live. Let's see something.
Do you think, like, the investigators and the prosecutor, do you think they believe all this in the PCA? They believe it genuinely, or are they acting?
They write things.
Is that okay?
How they work their little PCAs is it's like they're wordy for a reason. They say things the way that they're saying it so that they can get away with, I didn't lie. I didn't lie. It's going to be able to come up against like this whole, like, I didn't lie. So
is there some funny business going on in this case? Do you think?
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah. I think there's funny business from jump when you have to go straight to IGG and you can't do investigative work, and you want to go straight to IGG off the rip. I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. I think that tells me a lot about the crime scene being completely contaminated.
And let's just explore a theory. We'll be fair and say we're going to explore this thought that Brian Koberger is being framed. Okay. So if we believe that, when was that first?
I think that we don't have to say Brian Koberger. I just think that it should be like this. You don't work a case backwards. You follow the evidence. This was inept work. I think that Idaho State Police was struggling. They've been struggling to hire people. Shit, they're one of their guys just staged the murder of his wife, made it try to look like a suicide. Finally gets popped, is in prison for it. A lot of issues are going on in Idaho, and I just think it's inept. This is the product of inept work. And then if you want to sprinkle in corruption, but at the bare minimum, this is inept policing. 100%, Eddie. This is inept. And it's going to come out that it's inept, just like it was inept in Canton.
Like tunnel vision type of thing, rush to judgment? Is that
across the board inept? Like, these people have no business being detectives. They have no business even being patrolmen. We're talking about, like, they need to go find a different career. Like, they are just not good at their job.
Because this gets us into the intentional versus unintentional category right now. If they're inept and that's what caused all this, that would suggest unintentional.
Well, yeah, because that's what happens. Yes. Listen, though, it's unintentional until then you have to cover. Remember how Steve Gonsalves was like, just come and say that you made a mistake.
Multiple people did this.
Just own up to your mistake, okay? That you made a mistake, versus when it becomes intentional is when police start covering for their ineptness by doing shady shit. And then by them doing that, now they fucking ruined this whole case, because that's what I'm trying to say, is that things that could have been unintentional, now, oh God, I'm not here. We'll just like, we'll bury it. We'll bury that somehow. And then that's what leads to fucked up bullshit. So even if it wasn't like, hey, we have to get a suspect in custody as soon as we can, because the university is going to lose a ton of money. Okay. That's our motive for arresting somebody so soon.
Pin it on a unfortunate random guy, a fall guy. Is that kind of the thing?
Yeah, or yes, you could do that, but also just rush to judge. There can be many things, but the motive for a case and why you're trying to, be able to serve truth and justice, you don't say, oh, the university is going to lose, enrollment numbers and money. Like, what the fuck? But if you don't think that was what was going on here, the university, read the damn guy's book. He's over there. I mean, Steve even sees that. Steve's like, why are you writing a book saying that you're involved in this investigation? We're in the middle of trying to save the venue in Moscow. Who has ever heard of a president of a university being involved in hardcore aspects of a quad homicide? I've never heard of such a ludicrous statement in my life. But he's able to write a book and say all these things, and that they were in part,
So I think
that Scott Green is going to be a witness. Could be a witness for the defense. Don't you think he should?
Yeah, I do.
I'd call him.
Is part of your thought, does that go hand in hand, pinning on a random unfortunate guy, does that go hand in hand with this also? This being, they genuinely don't know the people who did this?
I think it's like this. The IGG came back with this name. You guys are hiding the fact that you even used IGG, then with the data of when you got this. But let's say once you got this, none of the evidence that should be there at that point, like, okay, you got this name. You should start seeing stuff, and it's just not there. So how are you still going on this path of, okay, he's the guy, when now you're working backwards, and even you working backwards, you're not able to put the guy there. So then you go ahead and you fudge a search warrant because you give the magistrate not correct information. And by only doing data points that, okay, we're not lying, but we didn't put all the data points in here because it would actually, the car and the phone wouldn't align. And so, but if we only include these points of the data, we can maybe get away with it. Like, why would you have to do any of that? Why wouldn't you, if Brian Kohlberger's name came up, okay, I can't wait to see the date if they ever went and talked to the guy. Okay, they're looking for this Elantra, right? Well, here, maybe they did to see if Brian Kohlberger would come forward and be like, hey, I have a white Elantra. I saw you guys are looking for one. You guys want to talk, like, is there anything I can help you with? Okay, but in his defense, he could say, you guys were looking for 2011, 2013. So I didn't think that I needed to say, hey, I have a white Elantra that's 2015. But you can always do things before you go to arrest somebody. So you can serve a search warrant. Hey, we want to search your house. Hey, we want to search your car. And none of those things happened. It was like, we know this is the guy. Let's go ahead and do all this stuff that's totally what I think is going to come out as illegal. They violated his rights. And then here, if he's truly the guy, now you're going to let a murderer go? I have a problem with that. I don't want a murderer going free. Okay, but there's issues there if you're doing all the stuff and it's coming back, like when he would have got his car and there's no DNA in there. And then you look at his phone records and there's no connection. You look at his social media, there's no connection. Like, go back to the drawing board and just start doing some detective work. Serve more search warrants so you can get more information. But you arresting somebody and violating their civil, why? Why are you doing that? You got all of America, this whole world had eyes on that case. And this is a case that you're going to fuck around with. And then the FBI is going to use their cast, which is so fucking unreliable, but whatever. You're going to, for what? Because now this is where we're at. And I'm sorry, either this guy was totally set up and fucked, or he's totally guilty, guys, and he's going to go free. That's where I see this happening. And I think this could have all been avoided because people can't be violating people's rights. If you don't violate people's rights, we're not here. Like, stop violating our fucking rights. stop violating our rights. They cut so many corners because they think people are dirtbags and, oh, I can just do this and I can do that. It's like fundamental. Go make a layup. Oh, well, you still do it fundamentally correct. So that way, when you have to make a 3-pointer, or you have to make like 3 baskets in a row, like the police are just doing stuff, however, for what they would consider like little cases. But then when the big cases come, you fuck all this shit up, and that needs to stop. I can't believe that anybody would ever, this case blew up the day it happened. I disagree with that. I'm sorry, guys, but this has police bullshit all over it in terms of that they're just not good. Think about it. Would you want a doctor performing surgery on you that was, I don't know, a first year just out resident, and you want them to perform some massive heart surgery on you? The answer is no, you don't. So do you think you want your first responders to go and contaminate a scene that showed up there at that house and then didn't separate people, didn't do it? You wouldn't want that. So
I really think that everything
stop
that I've
hiring
seen
in
so
that
far
motherfuckers.
suggests
It'll go a long
that
way.
this is very purposeful and deliberate, what they're doing, which would mean that they know who really did it and they're covering up.
Or they're covering for their. Look at those body cams, Eddie. Look at how many people need to show up for a goddamn noise complaint. How many people were there? How many people were there? A noise complaint. And you got a bunch of college kids. The owners aren't coming to the door. You have a bunch of college kids lying to you. You're pouring out drinks. And you had how many people there? So you say, no, all you people need to leave. And we'll be contacting the owners. We're going to take down all these license plates. We're going to show back up here. But everybody needs to leave. Everybody needs to leave. You know, you're going to sit there and let these frat guys lie to you. They don't know who lives there. Get the fuck out of here. So then do you think them talking to the police with this murder? Yeah, let me just sit here and tell you my life story. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All those kids lied their asses off. And then Steve came through and said, listen, these kids are worried about you're going to get them in trouble for drinking or drugs or whatever. And so, like, go talk to them and tell them they're not going to get in trouble for that. Tell them to look at their phones. Maybe they have a picture, like, and it's just, to me, it's just like, do you guys know that school was just ranked number 1? Did you guys see that in the Midwest? They just got that ranking again. I'll have to pull it back up. I just think it's wild. How many people do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people at a noise complaint. I mean, I was able to get 3 body cams from the same, and then one of them had a ride along with them, and the other one was doubled up. That's unbelievable. And then they're going to sit here and tell us that it was a quiet morning. Like, there was a canine drug search. Somebody was overdosing before that, like 10 minutes before that. Yeah, super quiet morning. I don't know. I don't think that's quiet when you're calling the canine search out. Literally just 30 minutes before that call came in. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're used to getting like 4 or 5 calls. Well, the Lulu University. So I hear what you're saying, though, but I just think we can go there once we see some more evidence. But I think the thing to notice here is that I don't think that I think that we have a lot of inept people. We don't even know that answer.
Well, they know the answer.
No, that's what they say to us. We don't even know that answer, and they're clearing people. They're publicly clearing people. Why are they publicly? You don't have to clear anybody publicly.
They know what they're doing. They know what the deal is. I know one thing before I hop off.
That's insane.
This thing was on so early, Lana. I'm telling you.
And I'm not disputing that. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm saying that could it be?
You know what?
Absolutely.
I get it. All you content creators, you cannot lean too heavily one way or the other. It is a business after all. You cannot commit to, being ironclad.
No,
like,
that's
way
not.
over here
I'm
or
following
way
the
over there.
evidence. It's not.
And
I don't have to
continue
I don't,
doing what you're doing. Be
I don't have to just because of
diplomatic.
I'm true
way.
to myself.
But guilty people do not require this level of illusion of guilt. The truly guilty will convict themselves.
I don't think you need a 20-some page PCA, okay? That has so much shit in here that doesn't matter to arrest Brian Kohlberger. Why do you have to talk about Xana with TikTok? Why is that so important to arrest Brian Kohlberger? Why do you have to talk about the dog?
This whole disinformation campaign against him. It is carefully choreographed. This whole thing is not by accident. This is purposeful.
Like I'm here to help you. Dylan, how much did you have to drink? You guys think that people's phones that were confiscated? Dylan, how much did you have to drink? What did you do drugs wise? And you knew that somebody was saying, I'm here to help you. Like, no wonder why she thought Kaylee was playing with the dog. She's fucking hammered. She's drunk. She's high. Who knows? I mean, I'm like, were any of these people drug tested? You're going to take their statements. There's no forced entry, guys. How could Brian Kohlberger, or anybody for that matter, pick the house that 6 people lived in and every single door you could have just walked in? That's pretty talk about some good luck. And then the same house that you pick, they don't call the cops on you, even though there's 2 survivors in there. And then they just sleep through it all or just are scared. And then they don't even call the cops until almost noon. After they invite people over back to the house and they fuck up the scene for you. I mean, talk about wow, this person who did it, talk about that's some seriously good luck. That you, I don't know.
To me, that crime scene shows that it was under a tight level of control during that time of the crime and up to the 911 call. Read into that what you will.
Yeah, why is Ann Taylor requesting all these people's,
It was being controlled carefully.
120 agents on this case. I only need 3 people's, 3 training records. I mean, and then we saw Linda Lane. You cannot tell what type of car that is on Linda Lane. Now they would have footage from that other angle of that house that's got the ring or what is it called? The light bulb. And so, but they had the audacity to say that there wasn't that many people out there on foot. Yeah, there was. There were people walking all over there. And then why is the killer not on foot? Why do you think the killer's in a car? Who drives around to be seen on a camera 3-4 times? That has to be the most stupidest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. But that's exactly what they said Dan Moore did. That he took his truck, drove around the murder scene, then goes and parks his truck, gets out, walks on over, and then just takes the miraculous shot right through the window and just whoop. No idea how Dr. Drake's office is set up, but happens to just fucking nail him perfectly so that he bleeds out in 3 minutes with a .38 caliber that just happens to pierce him perfectly. And they're saying basically the same thing here. Brian Kohlberger is circling, or who's suspect vehicle circling 4 times, then parks after they tried to park a couple different times. That just, and then okay, I'm gonna go run in there now. Now after I've been just on every camera possible in the area, okay, and
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely absurd. Like that part is so fucking absurd. And then it's like, okay. Oh, but he didn't bring his phone with him because he knew he was going to go do this. Okay. But yet we find out that he does have his phone and it's actually pinging over there in Hawaii Park. And now they're like pants around their ankles. Fuck, how are we going to, like, we totally did. We made up this shit to get the second search warrant. And then everything that would have come from that second search warrant is everything that they need to prosecute this man. So then that goes bye-bye. And then what happens?
No
and
trial.
that's right. Yeah, that's where I see this heading.
Spoliation. We haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, this is just. I mean, this is wild.
I bet Judge is happy to be rid of this case.
Did
you see
Judge?
his,
I think
his
Judge
reaction.
was like, y'all can, like, you know, just outside the door of DM's bedroom, right there. Just outside the door, we found that diamond-shaped pattern that you can't see with the naked eye. We had to use our little squirter, you know. And then, hey, you know what? After he booked it through the glass doors, DM locked herself in her bedroom. So when did DM go downstairs and sleep? You know? And then look at right here. This to me, all I would need to see as a juror, you think this door opened 3 different times. And it's just like on top of that little foyer, whatever you want to call it. I mean, little hallway. I don't know if you want to call it that, but boom, he just walks right out there. But after he has to walk right past me, right here, like unreal. Like there's nowhere to go. If I open up the door, no doubt Brian Kohlberger sees that. Anybody would see that. I'm covered. Look at this. Look at this. I take one step out. I'm impeding his way. I'm impeding him. Like I would basically, you'd brush up against me and I'd get blood on me. That's like, look at that. Look at that. And now how would there only be one footprint? Does Brian have only one leg? Which way is the footprint facing? Okay, everybody and their mother has Vans. What size is it? Is it half a print? I mean, it's just so absurd.
So that footprint must be problematic for some reason, because why even mention it in the PCA? So that might have been a work product of someone who was not part of this, you know, like one of the forensics workers who gathered that up, and that's part of what they found in that home.
She's a goner. If she's in that room, she's dead. You guys.
Why mention the footprint though, even at all?
Because they don't want to give it to somebody else. She's a goner. All right, Dylan, we know it. We all know it. She's a goner. Maddie, how can she expose them and stay alive? 4 kids dead, 1 veteran, and 1 kid sitting in jail facing the death penalty. The last 2 weeks in Moscow, no less than 4 calls for unconscious people at 1 Delta camp. Can you answer Maddie's question? I don't know what question it was. Sure. It's just this right here. I can't. This is the part I can't fuck with right here. This is a hard one for me. Okay. But what makes sense is that they cornered Dylan into saying, like, listen, if you don't tell us what we want to hear, you don't start talking, we're going to think that she had something to do with this, Dylan. Okay. Because this doesn't look good for you. You know, and she's just like, okay, yeah, I was there. I saw him. It was this at this time. You know, then you start you're going to tell him what? Sure, whatever I need to say. That's what I just want to know how many times she spoke. I just want to know how many times she switched her story, what little slip up in the recording, because I'll find it. They just better not, when this whole trial's over, Because anything that doesn't make it to trial, we probably will never see. This video canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. You ask Payne which ones, he doesn't even know.
Do you think Dylan was being deceptive or just uncooperative? Or neither?
No, I think that it's like one of those things that I think they had her in a situation that they're gonna. Yeah, okay. They need Dylan. They need Dylan to be in that bedroom so they can say it. So that they could say it was a bushy eyebrow motherfucker. 5'10".
They need her in that crime scene. Yes.
Now, yeah, because if Dylan was truly downstairs, then what?
But
then you can't say, "Oh, we got Brian Koberger's, driver's license." Let me tell you what they usually do to people. They usually probably give you a 6-pack, and they say, "Okay, can you pick out the guy?" But without Dylan saying that he was 5'10", not really muscular, but athletic build, and what was it? Bushy eyebrows. That is so that's subjective. Like whatever. Okay, and then how does a guy say, "Yeah, when I saw that dude, I thought he had bushy eyebrows"? Like, what? They all have bushy eyebrows, if you ask me. All these dudes do. So I don't know, Eddie. I don't know what to tell you. I just think the house is surprisingly small, tight, and you can hear everything. And they're just putting a car in the middle of the 700 block of Indian, right here in Indian Hills, like out of nowhere. That's Ann Taylor said this. Who gave you this video? Where did you guys get this video of the 700 block? Like, move here. We're gonna match up this white car to, And then how is what she saw even? How does she know what time it was? If she just went to sleep? Oh yeah. Then I was just like, I want to see these guys' phones. Were they being active on it? Remember Dylan's over here putting on her Vimvo or whatever it's called. She's putting up pictures of her and Kaylee either at 3:33 in the morning, or was it 12:33? Whoever took the screenshot, was it 1:33? Was it 2:33? They really found a needle in a haystack with finding on the 700 block this alleged white vehicle. It's just really interesting, man. FOIA my ass. Who is Shadowman? They won't give it up. They won't give up Shadowman. Maybe we'll find out in the trial. I still have questions about the house behind the Moyes. I still have questions about them. Every car over there in that area is white. I mean, it's just like, whoa. I think 3 of those cars that were parked right there look like damn Brian Koberger's car.
It's a steep hill there.
Oh, it's very steep. And I was like, because I have some of this is when I did this, they had started to blur stuff out. And I have to go back to some of my other ones because you could go past this in some of my other videos. And so I got to go back to those to be able to go past this.
Right where you're at, right there is where those 2 tire tracks are. Have you ever noticed that there's 2? Everyone sees the forensics experts measuring the 1 tire track, but there's 2 and they're parallel. Have you ever noticed that?
In what that?
It's the aerial view. You'd have to watch towards the end of that aerial footage where the drone is flying. But
Whitney,
there's 2 tracks.
Stella Bella. I'll have to go look at that.
Well, the reason I pointed out is because an Elantra, a front-wheel drive car, is not going to have the horsepower. They're subcompact compact sedan like that is
Yeah.
built for economy. It doesn't have the horsepower. Whoever did that had like a fancy, Mustang or Camaro or pickup truck or whatever. And they were going up the hill when they made those burnout marks, and they were showing off for someone, right? But not down the hill. It's hard to peel out going down a hill because your momentum would, you would outpace the rotation of the tire, and you wouldn't leave. You would just accelerate. So you'd want to use gravity to your advantage. You can do a longer burnout. It's kind of like applying the brakes while doing a burnout, like in NASCAR after they have a victory burnout. But it's not Brian's.
I just want to know.
They're not going to be calling
4 questions.
To my point, they're not going to be calling a tire expert because that's not.
No, they're not going to call it a tire. No, they're not going to call it a tire.
That's Brian's car. That's just ridiculous and silly conversation that the community's been having.
I just have one question, Henny Man. Why did you stick around? Why did you stick around at the truck if you knew the girls were getting a private driver? What were you doing? I didn't know they were getting a private driver. So you walked them all the way down there, and you think that you're giving them a ride home. When did they tell you that you're taking them home? And they say, okay, yeah, you're going to be our ride.
Oh yeah, hoodie guy, yeah.
Yeah. So then, you don't even talk to them while you're there at the stand, right? And you're just standing in the back. Now you decide to pop your hood because it wasn't popped. So you pop your hood, and then what? You make conversation with everybody else except for the 2 girls, right? Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Why? And then they didn't feel the need that they had to tell you that, hey, we didn't get we're getting a ride. So, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can interpret his actions both ways. He looks very suspicious on one hand, but or he could be just, the guy that was chasing after something that wasn't meant to be, and he got dissed, and that was that. Hard to say, but either way, the investigators would know if he's involved. So ultimately, if he's involved, he's not the top. That's not where this investigation ends. Oh, it was him, and problem solved, case solved.
Yeah.
No. If he's involved, like he was he was keeping the other dudes that were going to do this notified as to those 2 girls' whereabouts. If he's involved like that, he's still not involved per se, because that would mean that all the way up to the top, your prosecuting attorney would also know that.
Yeah, this prosecutor? Oh, he knew everything. He said he would send his kid to the school. So, but what was I going to say? Oh yeah. For the record, Kaylee's back window was not smashed out. I'm sorry, but I mean, are people just getting fucking high as kites?
Well, there's many reasons why I stepped away for some time. And yeah, I'm back a little bit more and more because it is coming time. We're getting closer, and I can't just stand by idly and watch all this. I have to say my piece. I don't know why.
I love it when you speak your piece, Eddie.
Yeah, but it gets these conversations, they take a turn for the bizarre sometimes.
I can't believe there was. I don't even know why anybody would ever in their right mind say that Kaylee's back window of her Range Rover was bashed out. And who would ever send that to somebody and say, oh my God, look at this? I would say, oh my God, your ass is blocked from me, and don't you fucking send me another goddamn thing. You hear me? I don't care what you think about. Don't you ever email me again.
And we have to make a distinction. Therapy. I mean, there is, like, I think does not have a place in this case. Example, and I'm not going to name names, but when he hears this, he'll know that it's him. But I picture, I think that he used a hammer and he was rehearsing, like in that movie Taxi Driver. You talking to me?
Yeah.
I think he stands in front of his mirror and he rehearses. Or I think that I picture Xana falling and getting knocked out, and she gets knocked out with the hammer. The butt end of the knife. He's calling a hammer the butt end of a knife. I think that those two parallel tire marks are not a part of this case, and here's why. Okay, I think like that example is okay, and it's not harmful, but when you like whatever you think is just like bizarre and only to see it against the accused, I mean, that has no place. That's not doing any good.
Yeah.
Or I think he was in the back parking lot.
How can you say
I
think the Range? How can you say I think the Range Rover's window was blasted out when it's just like right in your face? It's just not.
Yeah, that's.
Hey guys, I get Annie calls me up. Yo, are you hearing this? Is Kaylee's Range Rover blown out the windows? I said, excuse me. She's like, I was like, Annie, I'm gonna let you go, but I can promise you right now, I don't gotta look at a goddamn thing. I promise you on my fucking channel that Kaylee's Range Rover's window, any of them, front, back, passenger, driver, is not bashed out with any item at any point in time. Period. All right. I mean, are you sure? I gotta go, Annie. I love you to death. Have a good day. She's like, you were right. You were right. I made Lana go through the drone footage with me. I was like, Annie, I got a lot of things going on right now. And you want to talk about Kaylee's fucking Range Rover having blown out windows? Where are you getting this shit from? I was like, oh, please God, tell me you're not watching somebody online right now. That's all I know. She's like,
I can't do with these I thinks anymore. He fixated and ruminated on her, or he put a shower curtain or a tarp at the back door and placed it down before entering the house. And it was like,
yeah,
can't anymore.
The windows broke when she drove through the tunnels. Exactly. I was like, there's no effing way we missed it. I was like, I swear the people that you watch are fucking on drugs, massive drugs, or they just don't sleep, or now this is borderline trolling.
I call it putting us on. When someone is using hyperbole
and
like
then there's
that,
people in the chat like, yeah, it's the fucking blown out. Look at those windows. And I'm like,
do any of us appreciate when someone's putting us on, wasting our time?
Lana, when you're in Moscow, can you please check for the tunnels? I'm on it. What would you like me to do? You just get in the fucking tunnels of the streets of Moscow. It was so cold that I was there too. I was like, yeah, definitely not gonna be checking for no tunnels. But I'm just like, I don't understand how, like.
Hey, Lana, let's
tunnels.
collectively, you and I, as long as you agree to it, I'm not gonna force you into making a bargain, but right here, right now, let's put to bed this rumor that he was up behind the house, parking and observing and lurking at that house 11 times.
Oh, 100% not true.
Yeah, 100%. It is not true. So anyone who continues with that at this point,
no, that's the reason this whole trial moved, you guys, because
marked.
Stuff like that.
Anyone who's talking that
stalking,
anymore, they're marked.
Yeah, like the whole
It's
like
ridiculous.
sitting right here and keeping an eye on this channel or on the house.
And the reason why we can debunk that is because it is on the
fucking
record.
Santa Claus lost his dick over that. Okay, that's how we can fucking debunk that. Santa Claus is like, damn you, Edelman. That's not what we you're asking these questions.
So it's official. Anyone talking that is marked now, so we know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
we know what they're all about from here forward.
Yeah, that's just no. I mean, I think that area has 3 cell towers, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm interested to see. Like I said, I want to see it all play out. I'm interested in this, like, you know, how did you get to Brian Kohlberger?
They won't give that up.
Been saying it since January 2023.
You will not know that.
I hope so.
Don't get your hopes up.
But you rock, Eddie. But we could definitely put that to bed. I was trying to show then we'll never
know who did this too.
Well, I think this is going to probably go down, regardless of probably what happens with the case. Is this is going to be talked about forever? Like, this is going to be one of those cases that I feel like no matter what happens at a trial here, that
Lastly, I'll say this, and the prosecution
Right
is
there.
fine with losing this case.
I think they're fine with losing this case because of one thing right here, is based on if people messed up and they're not willing to, if they're going to cover for organizations and agencies, right there. Damn it. I'll have to go back to the drone footage, but
they'll always play the part of doggone it, and the defense got the upper hand, and the bad guy got away. Daggone it. If only.
Yeah. Oh, everybody loves you, Eddie.
Thank you.
They say thank you for being on panel, so thank you.
I'll let you get to your next one.
We love you here, babe.
Love you.
All right. Have a good night, babe. Love you. Oh, I love him. Sarah, what you got for me? Sorry, Sarah. I just couldn't cut my boy Eddie off.
Hey, I love Eddie, so I had no problem. No problem. I'm glad he did that. So
what do you think?
So what I think. So going back to Dylan opening and closing the door. So a couple thoughts. Main thing is, how it came out that Bethany and Dylan were texting during the incident, allegedly? Remember that?
What? Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah. What if Dylan opening and closing the door, Bethany's texting her saying, you got to get the F down here. You got to get the F down here. She's trying to find a time to get out of the bedroom because shit's going down. And maybe that's why she was, she's trying to find a closest clear, and she's hearing all this stuff. But the way they worded it, it sounds, really pathetic, actually. And then ultimately when she does, that shoe print, it doesn't say, what if she tries to bolt it for Bethany's bedroom, slips because there's body fluid, smacks her head on the step, and there's your unconscious person.
Oh, the unconscious person is outside, though.
Was it? I couldn't remember if that's what it was.
I have it as that, but fuck, who knows?
But yeah, that was just a thought of
fuck, who knows? This case,
just Dylan. That was the only other thing that I could think of that made sense.
I just hope to God if 4 people are getting murdered and stabbed in my house, if that ever happened to me, that I wouldn't sleep through it, and that I wouldn't think that those sounds are normal. And if we're talking about defensive wounds, we're talking about if it's true that Xana's hands are like severed, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that's a screaming bloody murder. I mean, come on.
I mean, I've people I've known who have either done that to somebody or it's been done to them, and it's like they put it as like your body like kind of makes this horrific noise when that happens, and it's like it's just the most
when like your kid, when your kid's playing outside and like there's a difference in them, like then you hear like that
and it's like that,
you just go running like
that was not a happy scream, like that's not a happy I'm having
fun.
Or
just it's not one that you ever hear, like it's
just kind of like when they say like when a mother loses their
that's why
child.
That's why I just listen to like that Linda Lane to try to listen and to hear that like nothing, you can hear nothing between 4 and 4:20,
right. But at the dark hour, starting around the dark hour, as Mrs. Chapin stated early on, that's when you start to hear things, or even right before that, and that's when you hear noises.
CBTV, click back on. Sorry, I think I saw you in the back there. I didn't mean to not. I think there was 2 people. Sorry, I was just in my days with Eddie, just soothing me. So I apologize.
Yeah, what a guy.
Yeah, I agree. Xana would have to be screaming. Okay. And I would think that she'd be screaming, help! She'd be screaming their names to help help her.
Yeah, or Ethan. Like, I mean, we hear clearly a male screaming that, at some point on Linda Lane, like, and a girl, like, you know, like, just shrieks. Like, it's horrifying when I first heard that, and that, you know, after all the noise was kind of cut out and stuff. And it's just the difference. Yeah.
I just think that they'd be screaming for each other to help them.
Yeah. I mean, that,
You
the help
know?
me, the help me.
Like,
and plus the differences, like, between Xana and Ethan, and then the way Maddie and Kaylee were killed. Like, there's so much anger and rage in terms of Kaylee and Maddie, and
we don't know
Xana
that.
and Ethan.
No.
No?
That's not, no, absolutely not. Why would you say that? Who said that there's all this rage?
No. Sorry. I mean, like, they're, in terms of their wounds, they're.
No, that's that again. That's not fact.
Really?
Well, who said that?
Okay. Let me rephrase let me retracting my statement. Okay.
That's not true at all. I have to disagree completely, and I cannot let that be said on my panel, because there has never been said that there was rage. You know, the only person that we're hearing that there's been rage is that the person that killed these people, according to Steve Gonsalves, was filled with rage and blah, blah, blah. But
okay.
No.
I absolutely retract that. I apologize. I fully apologize.
We heard that the people downstairs allegedly they fought for their lives. But I think that Ethan was passed out drunk. I think that's going to come out. I don't think that Ethan even ate his food. I think that you know, only the ME is going to be able to speak to. They're going to be able to follow some wounds, be able to say like which ones were first. We're going to know the blood transfer. Like if Kaylee was the first person stabbed or Maddie was the first person stabbed, there's not going to be any DNA and blood from the other ones transferred into the wounds of the first victim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you should be able to that's how you should be able to pinpoint who's first, second, third, and fourth. Obviously, I don't think that like Xana would be first. Then it would be, you know, it'd be very interesting. I don't think that'd be Xana be first, and then the girls upstairs 2, 3, and then back downstairs for Ethan for 4. Then just happens to walk right past Dylan and just say, fuck you. I'm tired, and I'm just gonna get out of here.
Right.
So
okay.
So no, as far as like saying that all he said was that their wounds don't match, but Steve said a lot, you know, and trust me, that does not help the prosecution if these wounds don't match, if the point of damage and all the stuff that he's saying. Are we looking for multiple perpetrators? Are we looking at multiple weapons? But to say that one was more raged, and no.
All right.
I think if you're standing up and being, you know, and someone's attacking you, it's going to be different than if you're laying down, like Maddie's sleeping laying down. So is there a chance that Kaylee walked in on that? Is there a chance that she was sleeping there, you know, with her and trapped like they said? But we don't know any of that, and nobody does. And I don't think Steve has ever said that that there was, I mean, I'm sorry, but who WSU Kim? No, that's not, there's no proof there. That's all.
Right. So
that's somebody.
If
somebody has put that out there, that's not on the PCA, and that's never been said in court either. To make like the official, like that's never been even put in, like, you know, maybe if Ann Taylor comes out here to talk about that, but we know we're not going to hear anything like that from the state because they keep sealing everything that they put out. But the defense, they don't seal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just think that people would be screaming. I think that you'd be screaming for help. And if you're not screaming for help, you know, maybe that's going to come out that these people couldn't because of the way the first stab that they took, you know, then I just can't. Yeah. All I've heard the parents say, Xana's dad said that, you know, she fought for her life, right?
Yeah, her hands,
Yeah, there's defense, you know, and so that's where I would think, like, if someone's screaming for help,
is that
Ethan
and Lane? Is that like? Do you know what part I'm talking about? Like when you hear the people yelling, "Help me!" Do you know? It's like at 3. Maybe it's either 2:20 or 3:20. Do you know? Do you know what I'm referring to?
I haven't listened in a minute.
Yeah, I want to say I think it's in the 3 o'clock hour, but yeah.
I think to make 3 paragraphs about what Dylan was doing with opening and closing doors, and DM stated she opened the door for the 3rd time after she heard, so she closed it, because you opened it, closed it, opened it, closed it.
But
she heard the
I didn't know
crying
if
and
she was
saw a
trying to.
figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. You guys, if she's being walked towards her, you have to be standing out, because somebody can't walk towards you. That's what I was trying to say. Like, you'd have to be standing outside of, so they can be walking towards you. You could say walk past you. Past can be like, I'm still in my room, but walking towards me, I'm putting, and then she's like, oh, I just thought I heard crying. But then the 3rd time, I know that I heard crying. But guess what? I just closed my door and went back to bed.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that
this all needs to be there in order to have this figure, 5'10", taller male, not very muscular, but bushy eyebrows. I can't wait to find out when Dylan gave that information up. That's in a recorded interview. What's the date going to be on when you asked Dylan to dig down and think what that guy looked like?
Right.
I can't wait for the date on that.
Yeah. Well, you can notice the distance between, in terms of word salad, between where they say Bethany's room is and then where Dylan's room is. Like, they intentionally separate. Like, where they say Bethany's room is in the PCA.
Look at that.
I know.
Yeah. Do you understand that for him to like walk towards, Dylan would have to be technically, if you want to talk about walking towards, your ass has to be out of that room if you really want the definition of walking towards. If you want the definition of walking past, then Dylan can be still in her room. But then that's the whole thing, is who opens up their door and just stands like, I just opened it. You wouldn't be able to see. That's the test that they need to show, is that if Dylan is standing inside her room still and it's just opening up like that, she physically has to make a move outside a little bit of her door to actually be able to see on that angle of a person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would be peeking out.
Yeah. And plus,
and why would you peek out your door like that?
I guess that's where the idea of, like, maybe she was trying to, like, bolt it for Bethany's room. That was, but
then you wouldn't go in your room and lock the door. Okay.
Right, but then that happened.
You would, after that person walked past you, you would have went flying down the stairs to Bethany's room, right?
Yeah, that's
where they walk past you. That's where you would book it the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it just, and people can say, like, why would they tear down the house? Why would they ever tear down this house? Yeah. Well, clearly the defense was fine with it. Okay.
Yeah.
The defense was fine with it. So, why? How about this? Why would the prosecution not want to keep it there?
That was
because wouldn't it help them to show that, see, Dylan had the perfect view of this guy. Look at, if you're standing right here, you want to know why? Because then they're going to say, oh, Dylan looks like she should have been a goner.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't have been stabbed in that situation?
Definitely. I mean, and if she opens that door and he's like, say, he's walking towards her, like it states, that's like, right there. Like, she practically would have walked right into, like, say, that's what really would have.
And then where do you think, since he didn't have his sheath anymore, where did he put his knife? Just let me just put my knife in my pocket, or does he have his knife in his hand that he's walking out with, that he just used? Like, what are you going to do? Unarm yourself and I'm going to put my knife now in my pocket? No. So you didn't see a knife. I could see, like, maybe that you wouldn't see, you guys, if he had all dark clothes on, you might be able to say, like, the guy looked wet to me, but you're not going to see on black. Blood isn't going to, it's just going to be damp. Like, look at the Brian Drake hoodie or sweater.
Yeah. Plus, when she opened the door, I mean, that light from her window would show and expose her as well. Like, I mean, it's not like it was, let alone from her stepping outside from her door. That whole window would have been right behind her. in her
to
room.
follow along to see if he walked back out, walked past her. Listen, Dylan should have pissed her pants, and there should be a puddle of piss or shit or something like that. Puke. I mean, some bowel movements going on.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Like,
yeah.
And then she was so scared that she just fell asleep. You guys, something like that shakes you to your core. So maybe that's who they're going to have. An expert talking about this whole shock. There's no way that this girl was in shock for 9 hours. Okay. Maybe that's one of the witnesses for the defense and expert, but his knife would have been exposed. It's all lit up. I think that you would have seen the knife, unless he's walking with it behind his back like this. Okay.
Yeah,
And I personally believe that he would have realized, whoever this was, by the time he got to the car, okay, that he would have realized that he didn't have his sheath. So then the question for me is, the fuck, do you go back in, or do you have to get the hell out of there?
Unless you're being protected.
And
I guess.
why aren't you trying to open up every door? I don't know.
I don't know.
And then, the Gonsalveses think that only, one person was supposed to die and 4 ended up being killed. So that'll be interesting to see.
That's a lot of loss of life for one. I mean, one is bad enough, but I don't know. That just never sat right with me.
These text messages are going to be lit. These text messages see what they were all just talking about,
Yeah.
The next morning saying, "Oh, who's going to bring me a McDonald's sandwich? I'm so hungover." Because that's what my ass would be saying. Who's bringing me a greasy burger?
Yeah.
I can't. I'm so hungover, guys. Yesterday was so fun. We went to the football game. Then we did this. Then we did that. And I don't know. I don't know. And this is just so sad.
It is, and it's
just the perfect storm. Then if all of it played out that way, it's just really perfect storm there.
Yeah. I know. Kind of going back to the Sheath. I mean, I know. I think is it because Payne says that he later noticed that.
Yeah, I think it's from pictures now.
Yeah, and then isn't it Blaker's version? He says ISP later informed me or something like that. I think there's like a conflict. I think there's a conflict. Yeah.
And that's when I said, "Oh, you didn't inform." Like Payne didn't tell Blaker about it. If you think about it, you guys all work together. So why is Blaker being informed by ISP?
And maybe like you're saying, like if Payne's going through pictures and going, "Oh my gosh," and then tells ISP.
I want to answer this question. I don't, as far as the dripping down on the outside, I'm curious to see how that plays out in court.
Yeah.
From pictures that I've seen, Xana's room is right up over there. So where it was dripping down, it's just, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think about it.
I don't either.
I know that if I was there when the house was still standing, I would tell you more about what I thought about it.
Oh.
But I can't get over this tight spot, and I'll never be able to get over it with within the opening and closing 3 times, and that she would have to. That would mean other times that was happening, that she was always just missing him. Like talk about this good luck that Dylan had. She opens up this door 3 times, and she just does not get killed. Right. Okay, but yet everybody else does. Even speaking of the people that are on that second floor.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, Dylan, you should go to the casino, man. You should play the lottery. Because that's just,
Yeah, or go up, I mean, it's just, it doesn't talk about, Bill Thompson must talk about how stuff doesn't exist. I mean, this stuff doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Book it out the window, or, I guess there's no screen in that photo that you just had up, right? In October. the screens out. I think. I
Yeah,
think
the screen's been out for a while. If you go look
Yeah.
at the if you look at the body cams, it's that August. Go look at that August body cam.
Yeah. I thought it had been removed.
Welcome, new crime member over there. You can see blood. Yep, you can see blood. Bad game of whack-a-mile. Haha, Lana, like a bad game of whack. I just think that middle part, that's
I mean,
the
and then,
house
you
is
know,
way smaller.
Yeah. And then, you know, we have the
I just want to know how these
TikTok.
jurors are going to debate this. You know, you put these jurors in this room, right? And
Yeah.
how many people are going to be like, all right, how many people believe Dylan and how many people believe Bethany? You know? Or is it going to be how many people believe Bethany and then how many people believe Dylan because they got different stories? Okay. How many people believe that Dylan was even upstairs versus downstairs? And, you know,
Yeah, or like
how
we
many
talked
people
about,
believe that, that if that all happened, that she wouldn't have hurt anybody, she doesn't come out of her room, that she doesn't attempt to go help anybody.
When
I think
Payne
it's gonna
talks
going
about
to be a clash between Dylan and Bethany with their stories. I think
Yeah.
Bethany puts Dylan not there, and that's the exculpatory.
Yeah, that could be yeah.
Because that means that Dylan couldn't have seen a 5'10", you know, bushy eyebrow, you know, just
Yeah. Big time. Absolutely. The Sheath, you know, rereading how Payne talks about the Sheath as it was processed, and then, you know, what that it had, like the United States Marine Corps. The more I read that, I'm like, well, maybe this Sheath was really like if they couldn't read that there, or, you know, maybe he just didn't know until they actually, like, he went and saw it. Like, I don't know. I just, you know, hear all these things of, was this thing actually pristine? Like, or was this, like, that makes no sense either. This should be, if they're saying where it says it is.
Listen, look at Miss Potts. Lana, why do you think Payne was rifling through Xana's possessions, leaving his effing DNA all over it? Before coroner has even entered the scene, how you did, you know, he didn't wear gloves.
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean,
and she's saying that because of the PCA when it says that he was able to realize that it was Xana's room based
Looking
off of
at
her ID and stuff.
Taking pictures for, you know, of the ID and other, you know.
I think the reason he knew it was Xana's house is because he talked to Xana just, you know, a couple months prior to that. And so if he looked up, he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I talked to the homeowner here, Xana. Oh, God, that's her. Yeah.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I
the
mean?
one
Like
I didn't
Payne,
log in for.
Yeah, Payne did that one.
Yeah.
So I think he knew who Xana was from his encounter with the, you know, the drinking night.
Yeah, poor Xana. God rest her soul. For real. Yeah.
I think she's being coached on how to testify, and it's a long time between now and the trial. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that. I think Ann Taylor's really good, though. It's like one of those things you're damned. Dylan's damned how she testifies, in my opinion. But if I was Dylan, I would say screw the popo, bye. Screw the. I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
I'm telling the truth. Oh yeah, 800 people watching, only 300 likes. Come on, y'all. Whether you like it or not, you here for it. I don't know. I would never watch something I didn't like. I know that Miss Potts is all about this second processing of the crime scene by ISP. Well, I can just personally tell you on a personal note that ISP is the worst at processing crime scenes.
I'll never get over that, the way they did with the measuring
Dr. Drake's. Oh my
in the office
God.
with this, you'd see the arm and the not with a tripod or anything, just a cell phone and crooked, you know, holding up the measuring stick. I thought, oh my God. And these people, wow.
Yes. And yeah, here we're just gonna Officer Payne, man. He is never, I don't know. I don't know that construction site. I don't know. I think Maury did that. Bitch, no, he didn't. Okay? His ass was just up here last week. Liars. Just, this is my first homicide. I was in charge of one of the biggest homicides, quad hom, in all of the country at that time. They gave it to a 2-year patrolman. But hey, he's experienced because he has gone overseas and is with the military. And he knows how to. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I think he's a tool.
Appreciate him for that, though. Definitely think.
I think he should go back to hunting wolves. I'll give you that, Chasen. I'll give you that. I think that he was picked for a reason. You know,
the young.
If the FBI was going to do all the work in this case, why not just give it to the FBI? They did the IGG. They did the car. They did the phone with the car and doing the data points with the bullshit. I mean, what the fuck did the ISP people do, and what the fuck did Moscow Police Department do? I mean, everything seems to be done by the feds.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's sus. It's all sus. So yeah, like you said, we'll just have to wait and see how it all.
Yep, we sure will. I think the next hearing is we should probably be getting an update here next week to see if the judge is going to go with the May date or the September date. And I think it's a toss up. I don't know which way he's going to go. I think depending on what Ann Taylor told him, and I mean, this is a death penalty case. I want it to be in May. I'll tell you, I want it to be in May. I think it's better for my schedule, but September, that's going to be tough.
Cheaper plane tickets, maybe.
Probably not.
No.
I don't know. It's just summer. Like you can, you know, my schedule just fits my schedule a hell of a lot better. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we see Ann filing a motion to dismiss? We see a lot of motions coming. A lot of motions are coming. Frank's dismiss. I mean, you guys, I personally believe that they lied to the grand jury. Okay. They lied to the grand jury. Just like they did in Karen Reed's case. Based off of all the search warrants I read, they got some fucking problems, man. They have search warrant problems.
Hey,
they have search warrant problems.
I gotta go. But Lana,
okay, bye, Sarah. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks
a great night. Sleep well, love.
Take care.
Okay. Is there a video on the Gonzalez contradictions? Like everyone they've ever said? Right there, guys. Boom. One step out of that room. She's literally walking into the knife. Look at that. One step out of that room. Look at how tight, even when you have to turn to go out to the kitchen. One step out of that room, she is walking into Brian Koberger's being. So that means that she would have had to stay in her room, peeking out to not be seen. And I just can't buy that. Because your first instinct would be to open that door and fly the fuck out of that room. That's like your first instinct. And why you didn't. And then you're going to be able to say, but you see all of your frat guys in all these masks and stuff like that. That doesn't scare you. What were you scared about? Why were you in a frozen shock state? Like, what was so scary about a guy in a mask when everybody in the frats wears masks? And y'all do this to each other all the time. One step. One step out. You step out. One step out, which would make sense with why there'd only be one. You guys know about the footprints, right? Like the three different kinds. Why there'd only be one footprint is because you took one step out and you didn't take the other step. The person walking from the living room area towards to leave would be taking multiple steps. Or open and say, why? Remember what Ashley Banfield said? Ashley Banfield said that Dylan opened up the door and said, shut the fuck up, everybody. Shut the fuck up. You guys remember that, right? You guys want me to play that Ashley Banfield clip? I love that one. Ashley Banfield hit me up the other day on my burner. She said, Lana, where you been? I said, girl, I'm in your dreams, baby. Lana, you're crazy. Surviving roommate never went upstairs. How about this one? Okay, so we know who her now. Going back and watching and listening to everything that Ashley Banfield has to say, we know
source close to the victims' families has told me that Bethany never ever emerged from the basement room. Like, she never came upstairs. She left the home and was outside in the chaos in the front of the house, but never did go to that second floor, never did see the carnage. She wasn't part of the discovery of the bodies. She was the only one living in the basement at that point.
Do you understand
Dylan,
what that means?
The other surviving roommate, you well know now, was on the second floor, had the room across from the kitchen, opened the door, peeked out and saw.
Peeked out, bitch! No, she didn't!
Looked like Brian Koberger with the bush.
Wait, look like Brian Koberger! Ashley, do you know how ridiculous this sounds? She peeked out. Why are you peeking out? Why are you peeking out? There's nothing to peek out. You only peek out if you're scared of something, but why would you be scared?
You well know now, was on the second floor, had the room across from the kitchen, opened the door, peeked out and saw who she says looked like Brian Koberger with the bushy eyebrows, saw that male all clad in black with a black mask walking out.
Thank you for watching.
Thank
Go
you.
to newsnationnow.com to find.
Thank you. Okay, so Bethany, according to family source, never went upstairs. And I knew that because it's just common sense. Bethany doesn't have to. Bethany has her bathroom on the first floor. Okay. As a college kid, I've been there. Bethany has her bathroom on the first floor. She has an exit point on the first floor. There's a door right there. If I don't need to get anything out of the kitchen, okay, I'm not going up on the second floor. I have no need to. If I'm planning on going and getting brunch with friends, I get up, go to my bathroom, grab my keys, and I fucking leave. I don't go upstairs for any reason ever. If I'm going to go to my classes, and then in college, guess what? Everybody has refrigerators, these mini fridges. So if you have bad roommates and they like to steal your food, you keep fucking shit in your room. Whatever. So I totally believe that she wouldn't have gone upstairs. So with this, source, it's interesting. So that means it was Dylan's phone. And because the call originated from inside the house, right? Dylan's phone. Okay, so let's go to the next thing that Ashley Banfield said. So we can, when she says that Dylan, roommate of slain Idaho students, break their silence. Idaho student murder survivor Dylan Mortensen saw the killer. Okay, saw the killer. What suspect's aunts told this reporter. Okay, let's go with this one. Okay, let's listen to all these These sources. Ashley Banfield sources. We should have an episode. Okay, Ashley Banfield, next up. All right, Brian Kober. There we go.
Dana Kennedy is a senior reporter for the New York Post, and she's live with me now. Dana, you were able to speak with the aunt of this suspect, of Brian Christopher Koberger, today. What did welcome, and what did the aunt tell you?
I've actually spoke to two of them, and they were both married to brothers of Michael Koberger,
They
that's
were
the murder
married.
suspect's father. And the one aunt that I spoke to, who a lot of them are in the Las Vegas area, and she said the last time she saw Brian and his father Michael was about 4 years ago at a funeral out in the Nevada area. And she said that Brian's affect in general, it wasn't as if he came off, of course, as somebody seemingly outwardly crazy, but she said she noticed that he had a really weird food fetish. And she said it went beyond being vegan. He required his aunt and uncle to buy brand new pots and pans for him to eat out of, because he refused to eat from anything that had meat ever cooked in it. And she said it seemed to be an OCD type of situation.
That boy to go to McDonald's.
She said otherwise he didn't seem that odd. But I spoke to another aunt by marriage who said that the murder suspect's father, Michael, came from a fairly big family that she said lived very close to the edge. They didn't pay a lot of attention to rules. They were a little bit wild. A couple of the uncles of the murder suspect, she said, served time in jail, but for minor, very minor offenses like gambling or things like that. But I got the sense from both these aunts that the family was pretty odd. And the father's family originally comes from Brooklyn. They later all migrated out to Vegas. And Brian's father, Michael, is the one that was kind of estranged from the rest of his siblings. And I also heard that he could be kind of difficult with his siblings. And I'm talking now again about the murder suspect's father.
Bitch, go get some new pots and pans.
These anecdotes are remarkable, but what about their affectation? Were they shocked, dismayed, upset, not surprised? Like, how do they feel about the fact that the person the entire country has been looking for?
The entire country has not been looking for this man. Okay? Okay? They were looking for a white Honda Elantra. They act like Brian Kober was a fugitive, like we knew his name.
Ended up being their family member. Like, how surprised were they about this news that he's the suspect?
Not as surprised as you would think. The one aunt, the one that saw him a few years ago and not talked about his food fetish, said she just heard about it, but she was incredibly
I wasn't surprised
calm.
at all.
She is no longer married to the brother, so perhaps the fact that they're not specifically legally in the family anymore gives them some detachment. The other aunt, I'm the one that broke the news to her, and she was completely matter of fact and calm about the whole thing. They didn't want their name.
You're the one that broke the news to her that her nephew is Brian Koberger, the alleged killer. Then that aunt must live in a fucking plastic box, okay?
Used, which is understandable. But no, I mean, I think if it were anyone I'd known, even if it wasn't a relative, I'd be shocked to my core. They did not seem to be that way to me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on.
Thank you for that amazing report. See, guys, this is amazing. This is wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now let's see. Where is it? Why didn't Dylan call 911? Okay, clearly why members in Idaho case discussion group on Facebook are being kicked out. Okay. Okay, this is wow, I cannot believe.
Rubbing the bullies that do this stuff. But Alina, what's going on? Why are they doing it in the first place?
Hi, Ashley. Well, Dylan has always had a target on her back from the beginning, mostly because she was, there was a comment put out like in November 24th by a best friend of her, or like a close friend of hers, that basically explained, or out of her mouth, said who the suspect looked like or that she saw somebody in the house. So there was always a target on her back. However, Bethany has never been spoken about since the beginning. And now that the subpoena has been released, now this target has shifted and now the target is on Bethany's back. And because originally everybody's like, well, why is nobody talking about Bethany? Where was Bethany? Nobody's, but originally they always thought she was sleeping on the first floor. And when they found out about what happened in the house, that she just exited out of the, door over there and didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. But now we see the subpoena, and on number 9, if you look at it over here, it says Bethany Funk was interviewed by police on several occasions. She disclosed things she heard and things that she saw. So now everyone's like, oh, so she did hear things. She did see
you guys are
things,
so stupid.
where this whole time,
That's not what the
since November,
fuck y'all are talking about.
we were
She's talking about way before. She's talking about before this ever happened, the killings ever started. She's talking about the fact, in my opinion, okay, that when I arrived home, Dylan wasn't home. Okay? I didn't hear anything. Dylan wasn't home when I was home, when I arrived home. So I have no idea what time Dylan got there, okay? Like, that type of shit. Like, this isn't about...
We're under the impression that she never saw or heard a single thing. So
Well, for heaven's sake, that's the defense language, right? Like that's what the defense is saying.
What do you mean that's the language? It's in the goddamn affidavit, Ashley Banfield.
That's so frustrating. And
what's so frustrating?
Also is frustrating, Christine.
You're frustrating me right now, Ashley. Just when I was about to give you my phone number, you go ahead and you do something like this. You remind me.
Is that you guys being the good guys and getting rid of these bullies, you're being targeted.
People asking questions.
Lives threatened.
Lives threatened? No, that's not cool.
Yeah, Ashley. We've had our lives threatened in the last few months.
I told you guys to stay away from Facebook. Facebook is derangement, okay? People get their little fake troll accounts. People just You guys are all in the DMs with these fucking crazy motherfucking fake people that using their real name as Melissa Smith. I hate to tell it's not.
Of the group, they literally lose their mind and go crazy. They've called our moderators place of employment. They search online for our addresses, our telephone numbers. We've had horrible photos sent to us.
What kind of photos?
Pictures of our husbands, ourselves, our children put online. And there's just no boundaries when it comes to bullying online.
It's frankly vile and filthy, and those people should be ashamed of themselves. And I know that the rest of your group is self-policing as well.
Go sue them.
They're not here for this. So thank you for keeping running a tight ship, keeping it in control. I know you guys are headed you booked a hotel, I think, to head to the prelim. So let's stay in touch.
Yeah, we were supposed to be there as well, but guess what? The prosecution pussed out.
I really do like our conversations, and again, thank you for keeping it civil. I appreciate it.
Oh, she really, Ashley. I'm gonna go ahead and message you now that I know that you talk to these broads.
Absolutely, we do our best.
Thank you,
Christine Cameron. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget.
Ashley's gonna be like, Lana, I've seen your lives about me. Fucking talking to you. Like, come on, it's just entertainment, girl. I don't feel that way about you. Let's see. Ashley, what you got next, girl? I know you got, I want to hear the one where you said that Dylan came out and she was, where is it? Damn it, Ashley. What's behind the 3 a.m. police call night of Idaho murders? Oh, let's see. Jim. Okay, here.
Payers pay for that work product. And now some eagle-eyed followers of the Idaho quadruple murder case.
Okay, ready? Here we go.
Police blotters and call logs are public record. Anybody can see them, and rightly so, because taxpayers pay for that work product. And now some eagle-eyed followers of the Idaho quadruple murder case
have picked up on one particular item from the police on the night that the 4 college kids were murdered. In fact, the incident in question happened at almost exactly the same time as the killings. I'm going to read to you what the police blotter actually says.
Look at
Quote, there was an alcohol offense reported at 3:01 a.m. on November 13th, and that's the last night the kids were alive. The location, a field on Taylor Avenue. You can see it there. Band. It's called Band Field. So that is not far from the Sigma Chi frat house where 2 of the victims, Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, spent a lot of their evening earlier on that night. The police timeline puts them at the Sigma Chi party from 8 to 9 p.m. But then there's a big 4-hour and 45-minute.
Do you guys see the original timeline? Everybody changed.
Ethan and Xana were between 9 p.m. until they got home at 1:45 a.m. So our Brian Enton joins me live again, and we're also joined by Gemma Gaudet, who's the host of Idaho Matters on Boise State Public Radio. Thank you to both.
Do
okay,
party
Brian, I'm
goers
going to
know
begin
where
with you. The
victims
big
were
question
for almost
is,
5 hours?
what do we know about that very strange police
Bethany
call at
knew.
3:01 a.m.?
Well, we don't know much more than what you just said, Ashley. It was in the police blotter 301, had something to do with alcohol. Police did take down a report, although we haven't been able to get that report at this point. This is the field behind me where the call was made, the big white field right there. That's the frat house you just talked about. You can see with the Christmas lights, and it's all very, very close to the house where the murders happened.
I don't know if you're able to, but if you and your photographer Mo could sort of walk me that way, because as I understand it, you might actually be able to walk me at least part or all of the way from where you are to the home where the victims lived.
Yeah, we can walk you there. Again, frat house, field. This is like an apartment complex parking lot that we're in.
That's where the police's car was. Okay, it turned around.
We'll walk you back, Ashley.
Right there.
And I've been telling you the last couple of days, there's it's a dense area. You know, when you just look at the shot of the house, you don't realize that all of these houses and apartment buildings are around. This is like a little walkway.
Like, why wasn't he walking around and go get all those ring cameras
that the students use to get down to the frat
right
houses?
There, right there.
And we'll just walk up here. Be careful, Mo, because
that's exactly where we had our camera situated for when the demolition happened.
Little slippery. It's been snowing nonstop, pretty much all day. Just looks like it let up a little bit. So we go up these steps here.
Look at all of it lit up.
And then this is a little road right here, Ashley. And you see
what's on the window over there?
Here is the house. This is the house where the murders happened.
Look at.
So
see how there's no trash cans out?
No idea.
Oh wait, there are trash cans.
Wow. I mean, short walk, that's like 55 seconds. I mean, they could have gotten home so quickly from that frat house. I had no idea it was that close, Brian. That's remarkable.
Very close. Yeah,
okay,
very,
well, Gemma,
very
now
close.
that we
and also
ahead,
again, all the places they walked by. No, I was just saying, in all the places, the apartments, the houses that they would have walked by. I mean, again, it's a dense area. There's a lot of people who live in this area.
Yeah, and all the witnesses who might have seen something or had a camera out or would have just thought yet another group of students walking by. So Gemma, you just saw what Brian showed us and how close that was to the frat house. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Gemma,
that
hit me on the hip
that night, because my thinking is that Ethan is a frat brother at the Sigma Chi. They all had to have known, you know, if he'd gone at 9 o'clock at night and
there's a Greek wall of silence holding back the case.
Well, what we know at this point, Ashley, about that fraternity party is that Ethan and Xana went together, as you mentioned, and then our understanding is that Hunter, Ethan's triplet brother, it was also a part of that fraternity house, and Hunter took Maisie, their sister, as his +1. But even Idaho State Police, the communications director for Idaho State Police, has said there are gaps in that timeline that night at Sigma Chi, and they want students to help them fill in those gaps. So they're still wondering, we're still wondering, you know, what happened within that time frame.
Okay.
It's fascinating to read that, you know,
they were at
Maisie
the Sigma Chi house the
Hunter,
whole
the
time,
two
allegedly.
triplets, with Ethan were at that party as well and spent the whole evening together with Ethan and Xana until those two left the party, which you would think they would know the time they left the party, and yet we're not being told that. Thank you for watching.
Ashley's like, why aren't we getting that information? Okay, well, that was tight-lipped. It's because nobody knew where they were. Let's see, where is Dylan Morrison, Ashley Van Field. Shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. She's like, she tells him like to shut the fuck up, right? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, do you guys remember this? Idaho rideshare driver comes forward.
Right. Yeah, this was super interesting to me because he said that he didn't hear about the murders until the next day. And he realized, oh my gosh, these are the two girls that I had driven home and I've driven home in the past. And so he was stewing on that for a little bit, but he was the one who eventually turned himself over to the police by calling the tip line saying, hey, I was the one who drove these girls home. The police tells the rideshare driver that they already knew he was the driver, but even still, he was the one who called in himself and said, hey, I was that guy. That being said, when he did that, called the tip line, he turned over all of his GPS coordinates from that night, sharing that he went to Taco Bell after dropping the girls off and then went home. And so that's the reason why he was cleared almost immediately, never been named as a suspect or a persons of interest, because all the data that he provided to the police proves that he was not there at this house at the time that these murders allegedly happened.
So the other question is, as you are standing almost, I imagine, in the same spot where they
the
were
police.
dropped off, did he mention anything about the drop-off that was unusual? Anybody in the parking lot? Did he drive into the parking lot? Did he hear something, see something, pass anybody?
Right?
Actually, the only thing he said was that he heard the frats doing their normal partying, but everything else seemed quiet, seemed normal. There were no headlights. There was no one following him. He says he's got a great memory, and he would know whether or not anyone was trailing him or if there was anything suspicious at all. As far as the drop-off, he said that he brought them right up the street here on King Road and dropped them off here at the foot of the driveway. He never pulls actually into the driveway because he says, based on his training, he always wants to be able to have a quick getaway in the event that something bad happens to him, like he gets robbed on the side of the road. But he dropped them off here on King Road. He watched them get out of the car. He did not watch them physically
So he's the
go
one that's
into
trying to
the home,
park, parallel
but
park.
he said that he trusted that they were going to be safe because he's driven them so many other times, and he knew that these two girls were together.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below.
Unreal. Idaho rideshare driver comes forward and admits that he went to Cow on Taco Bell. Sniper sleuths look for clues in Idaho victims' Venmo accounts. Banfield. God, let's do this.
To find the killer. And they're getting it, especially on social media where crime-solving groups are popping up nightly, analyzing clues and highlighting theories. My next two guests see them all. Christine Cameron and Alina Smith oversee the University of Idaho Murders Case Discussion Group on Facebook, and about 13,500 people have joined and counting, and they are here with me live. Christine, let me begin with you. You've been passionate about solving crime since John Bonet and Madeline McCann. So let me ask you about your group members zeroing in on Venmo and the public activity that they've been able to see between these victims and what they've been spending their money on. Can you explain what they've seen?
Yes. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having us. You see a lot of normal transactions between friends and roommates, paying each other for pizza and coffee. We see that on November 12th at 1:59, Ethan sent Kaylee money. The caption said, "Thank you." Then at 2:10 p.m., he sent her money again with a note that says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But when group members looked at Ethan's Venmo, a new Jack came about. Ethan paid someone named Jack Katovich at 11:40 p.m. and that is his last Venmo transaction. Not to say there's, anything wrong or suspicious, but that's just a new character that comes for people to talk about on social media. But someone went a step further in our group and did some digging. They posted that someone paid Jack's sister that day and captioned it 3:30 a.m. That time they felt was really unsettling. And Jack K was also the first person to donate to a memorial fund for Ethan in the amount of $6. And people are really reading into that a lot. Why $6? Now Jack is really just a topic of conversation and people want to hear more about it.
And a 3:30 a.m. Venmo captioned 3:30 a.m. Jack's sister. Fascinating. Alina,
Yeah,
can
who's
you
Molly
weigh in
Gray?
on
Who's
why
who?
a lot of people in the discussion group have been focusing in on the potential target as actually being Xana and Ethan, not necessarily where all the focus is on Kaylee and Maddie?
Hi, Ashley. Mostly because there's an eerily similar murder that happened in Oregon about August, and it also happened on the 13th. And it was a man and wife couple that was attacked. The murder weapon was a knife.
Yeah, they were quick to just say that had nothing to do with it. All right, one more down memory lane. You guys enjoying this? We'll go with, I really want her to say, I'm going to get the one that I want. So, roommates of Idaho students break their silence. Okay, here it is. I don't know if this is it, but this may be it. Excuse me.
To the latest in the quadruple murder investigation in Idaho. 3 weeks after the gruesome killings, and investigators still have very few answers. But as the search for a suspect continues, we are finally hearing from the two surviving roommates who were inside of that house on the night that the 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed. Correspondent Alex Capriello live for us in Moscow. And Alex, what is the latest from police tonight, and what did the roommates have to say?
What did they say?
Natasha, good evening to you. It's been a quiet day today here in Moscow. The police have said they're not going to be releasing any more information unless it's been thoroughly vetted and it won't harm this ongoing investigation, which of course is really tough news for the families of these 4 victims who are searching for any new development in this case. Meanwhile, for the very first time, we're hearing from the victims' surviving roommates who were there that night.
For the very first time, we're hearing from the 2 roommates who survived that deadly night exactly 3 weeks ago. Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen wrote heartfelt statements about their friends, which a youth pastor read publicly and shared with the world. One of those surviving roommates, Mortensen, wrote, "I know somewhere Xana and Ethan are together, keeping each other company, watching us and telling us it's okay and that we have each other. Maddie and Kaylee, the inseparable duo, the 2 best friends that were like sisters." Over the weekend, investigators could be seen re-entering the crime scene. Through the window, we watched as they handled evidence markers. Later, they left the home carrying large brown paper bags. And still, there are no suspects and no persons of interest. In an interview with News Nation's Brian Nenton, the family of Haley Gonsalves say it feels as if the police rushed to clear names from their suspect list.
I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe he shouldn't have been.
The police on Saturday dispelled circulating rumors of potential suspects. That includes the 2 surviving roommates, a man caught on camera close to the girls that night at a food truck, a rideshare driver, and an ex-boyfriend.
Oh, did you hear that?
And Natasha, one of the issues that these families tell News Nation is that the police just haven't been very forthcoming about the alibis of these people that
You
were
can't
once
give up people's
perhaps
alibis.
listed
It just
as
doesn't work.
people that they might want to pay attention to, but have been cleared right now by law enforcement. So that really leaves these families to really wonder and speculate about the level of due diligence that's going on with this very quiet investigation. Natasha.
All right, Alex, thank you. And
Not really.
thank you for watching. Go to
listen
News.
to Bill Thompson. He was doing interviews left and right. You guys remember this?
Video about that has reached millions. News Channel 7's Jude Binkley talked to the runner about what happened and her advice for others in uncomfortable situations.
Well, Samantha McIntyre has been training for a half marathon race, and she's been documenting her training on TikTok. Over the weekend, she went out for a run on a path that she usually takes, but when a red car started driving past her, she began to worry. Samantha McIntyre took off on her run with all smiles. She thought it would be like many of her other training runs on that same route.
I have to run by this car to get back to my car.
But 5 miles in, she started to feel uncomfortable when a suspicious red car drove past her twice.
It was super weird, like full front or top half of his body out the window, looking back multiple times, making eye contact with me. And I was like, that's not normal behavior. Cars pass me all the time. They've never done that before. And so it's just not normal behavior.
Samantha decided to stay safe and end her run early. She called her mom to pick her up and also told the police. She went to a nearby house that she recognized and waited for help.
I'd rather be safe than sorry, even if he was harmless and it was just, a misunderstanding. I'd rather call the police and just, make note of it, because if I hadn't and something bad had happened, I wouldn't be here right now.
Samantha decided to post the video on TikTok where she's been documenting her training in case it could help someone else in a similar situation.
For the most part, everyone's been super supportive and, just very nice about the whole situation and, thanking me for kind of bringing light to the situation, which
probably said, hey. Okay, well, we probably should have gotten the car. Okay, honey. I mean, the usual help. Here, look for this car. This guy's a freaking creep. Let's see. Oh, Idaho neighbor tells reporters he may have heard a scream. Eden Harsh comes forward. Oregon mom hopes Idaho killings bring attention to son's murder. On August 13th, 2021, in Salem, Oregon, Travis and Jamie Lynn Yutter were stabbed in the middle of the night while they slept. Dad of Idaho victim worked on locks weekend before the murder, mom says. Her mom doesn't know anything.
Think it's a targeted attack. She did say she believes the kids in the house.
Okay.
Xana Kernodle's mom, Kara, she just joined us on the telephone with her thoughts about what has happened. Clearly, she is in the dark, almost as the rest of us are, about the details of this case, why the police think it's a targeted attack. She did say she believes the kids in the house were targeted as opposed to the house itself. She also said something very significant that none of us knew before, and that was that her daughter, Xana, likely had a lock on her bedroom door. Her mom believes that her bedroom door had a lock. And she also said that Xana's dad, Jeff, had just the week before this murder been at that house to fix a lock. Whether it was the lock on the bedroom door or an outside door to the house, that's unclear. But Xana's mom knows that Xana's dad had fixed a lock at that house just the week before. I want to bring back in Brian Enton, who has been on this case. Brian, see the photo on the screen right now. On the left-hand side is an image of an inside lock on a bedroom door in the basement, in the lower floors. And the person who took that picture was the former tenant who moved out in 2009. And he told Fox Digital that his bedroom door had a coded lock, and that's the photo of it. He said every bedroom in that house had a coded lock on it. But if we look on the right-hand side, that's a recent picture from social media of the second floor bedroom across from the kitchen. And you can see that does not appear to be, at least in this picture, a coded lock. So it's possible that in the last 3 years, some of the bedrooms may have actually changed. But it is quite a development to hear, definitely, that Xana was on the second floor and that her mom believes she had that lock and her dad had worked on it a week prior, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time we've heard that, Ashley. So you know, I'm just trying to think this through here. A different lock. You know, is that a reason that the killer was possibly able to get into the room? Certainly possible, but just heartbreaking. I was listening to your whole interview so closely. Just heartbreaking to hear that mom speak for the first time. Very similar what she's saying to Kaylee's parents, who I spoke to a couple of hours ago. just frustration that they don't have information, and frustration that that they say the police aren't keeping them updated as frequently.
So that is something that is new at this point. Obviously, Brian, tomorrow is the 3-week mark since those kids went out on a Saturday night, like all college kids do, and had a great time and got home at a pretty reasonable hour, for college kids, 1:45 in the morning. And I'm sensing as well from the Gonsalves family, and I cannot imagine the pain that they are suffering, especially since they've been left in the dark. But they are starting to, their patience is giving way to frustration. It seemed pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they, you heard what they said. I mean, they don't understand. Their main frustration tonight seemed that they just don't understand why some of the people are being cleared. They want to know what the alibis are. They're like, is it just a friend who said I saw them? I mean, they want to know what the crystal clear alibis are of why some of these people were cleared.
Yeah.
Something else interesting, Ashley, because I heard Xana's
I
mom.
can't wait for them to who did you want alibis from? That's gonna come out in the trial.
It up, and you asked her about the stalker. I got some clarification tonight about that from Kaylee's family. They actually don't know of a specific stalker, or that she was being stalked. But they did say something similar to what Xana's mom just told you, just that, these were very, very pretty girls, and that it wouldn't surprise them if there was a stalker or people, men following them around. But they did not know of a specific person.
Well, that's fascinating because the police said in a news conference when a reporter asked, where did you get the information about the stalker, to start with? The police said it came up in interviews that they've been conducting. They didn't say who in the interviews told them that Kaylee had a stalker, but Kaylee's dad, Steve, has revealed that Kaylee told her dad, Steve, that she had a stalker. So I'm trying to figure out if it was Steve who brought that information to the police and they've not been able to corroborate it, or if someone else brought that information to the police.
I thought that
and
Steve said he never heard that his daughter said that. You guys,
I think there was confusion along the way.
Fuck is going on? Listen, now here's Brian at one. Maybe he's gonna clear this up for us.
Is what her parents told me, that I don't know if they were misquoted or how it actually came out, that the dad said there was a specific stalker, but he says that is not the case. There is not a specific person that they know of. It was more of just this general feel that she could have had a stalker.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Wow. No wonder where all these fucking crazy stories came from. Okay. Here we go.
Police.
Ready.
The Idaho Statesman newspaper spoke to 2 people, each who live in the apartment building right next to the house where the students were killed. And both said that the street was unusually quiet that night, especially for a Saturday night on a block often teeming with parties and college kids. One neighbor said that she normally sleeps with earplugs, but that night said she didn't need to. And she also said when police came to her door the next day, she simply told them she hadn't heard anything that had alarmed her during the night. Another neighbor described the quiet as bizarre. He also told the newspaper he thinks he may have heard a scream as he was dozing off about 4 a.m. And that is the same time police say the murders likely occurred. The neighbor said he dismissed that scream as a party sound and said he didn't think anything of it, even when investigators knocked on his door the next day. He also says he told police about a black luxury SUV that he hadn't seen in the neighborhood before. He said it was only parked a few spaces away from the front of the crime scene. But late today, police told this program exclusively, and I quote, "We have not heard anything about an SUV. However, if there is something we need the public's assistance with, we'll release it like we did for the Hyundai." That neighbor wrote about the crime on Facebook about 12 hours after police found the bodies. And
what?
Very curiously, he contradicted himself. Let me tell you what he wrote, presumably when his memory was still very fresh. Just 12 hours after the murders.
Even harsh.
Quote, 4 killed in a stabbing across the street. No screams, no evidence, no trace. It is unclear why he is now telling the
professional
Idaho
killers,
Statesman newspaper
but
reporter
why? On
that he did
3
hear a
sorority
scream,
girls?
right when he was going to
Shit
sleep at
doesn't
4
make
a.m.,
sense.
and that he didn't even mention
I don't
that
even think he
to the
remembers
police.
posting that.
Perhaps now the police will re-interview him about what he says
The
he
defense
heard
wants him.
and what he says he saw.
He's like, I got subpoenaed.
And then there is this story of what another neighbor saw. Reports that that neighbor told the police that she saw the front door of the kids' home wide open about 8:30 a.m. on the mornings of the murders, on the morning of the murders. And if that detail was known to the police as well, it sure didn't seem to make its way to this guy, the chief of the police, James Fry, because when asked about it yesterday by the Daily Mail newspaper, Chief Fry said this was news to him. He said this, and I quote the paper, "I'm not even sure where that came from, to be quite honest."
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm confused. I don't know about you, but I want to bring in Caitlin Becker because she is a senior reporter for the dailymail.com, and that's the newspaper that got that interview. So, Caitlin, I am not quite clear on how the chief of police couldn't have heard anything and seemed surprised by your newspapers even asking the question about the open door. Because if there's one detail that would stand out among many, it would be that the front door of the house where the murders happened was wide open just 4 hours or so after those kids were killed and multiple hours before anybody would wake up.
What?
Actually, the neighbor told us that it was 8:30 in the morning and the door was wide open.
What?
It stood out to me. It stands out to you. It is very curious that the
Holy
police don't seem to have
fucking A.
any information about this. I don't know if that's because maybe some people are hesitant to talk to the police versus talking to a reporter, but the question remains now that we've reported it and it's out there, the police still don't seem to have commented on the fact that the door was wide open that very morning.
You guys, this
And
this
they've had
case
multiple officers
is going
for
to be
26 days. Just this scene last night, 5 more agents going in and out of that house. These were very unusual looking agents, though. They didn't have any evidence bags. They went in, they went out, didn't take any notes as they were walking through the house. We could see that through the window. They certainly appeared to be FBI, maybe on a go-see to get familiarized for the first time because they've added new FBI agents to this case, but they wouldn't answer our questions either as they walked by and kind of hid their faces, which was unusual as well. But I digress. I want to ask more about those local cops and the chief himself. We have been begging to get the police in an interview so that we could ask some of these questions for clarity, not even to give us, I'd like information about the case, but just to get clarity on their messaging. And they refuse. They've just flat out refused to do any interviewing with me particularly and many of our reporters and producers. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red
forgot about how
subscribe
insane
button
this
below
case
to
is.
get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people have forgotten how insane this case is. I mean, this is really, really important here. 8:30 in the morning, door is just wide open.
Couldn't have heard anything and seemed surprised by your newspapers even asking the question about the open door. Because if there's one detail that would stand out among many, it would be that the front door of the house where the murders happened was wide open just 4 hours or so after those kids were killed and multiple hours before anybody would wake up.
Ashley, the neighbor told us that it was 8:30 in the morning and the door was wide open. It stood out to me. It stands out to you. It is very curious that the police don't seem to have any information about
You
this.
shut these people
I
up.
don't know if that's because maybe some people are hesitant to talk to the police versus talking to a reporter, but the question remains now that we've reported it and it's out there, the police still don't seem to have commented on the fact that the door was wide open that very morning.
Unreal.
And they've had multiple officers for 26 days. Just this scene last night, 5 more agents going in and out of that house. These were very unusual looking agents, though. They didn't have any evidence bags. They went in, they went out, didn't take any notes as they were walking through the house. We could see that through the window. They certainly.
All right, let's see. God damn it, Ashley. Where is Dylan Mortensen saying? Dylan Mortensen, Ashley Banfield. Shh. Be quiet. This is interesting.
And welcome to this Thursday edition of Banfield. I want to begin with some breaking news on the Idaho murder case.
See how wrong you guys
Couple
are.
of sources with knowledge of the investigation have told News Nation some details that up until now we did not know. Let me lay a few of these details out, but I do want to warn you that this is graphic information and it is uncomfortable to hear this because we're talking about innocent kids who were killed in that home back in October. And not only that, this is evidence that likely will come out in court at some point. Whether it will be germane to who the killer is or not, that remains to be seen. But it could be evidence nonetheless. With that in mind, let me let you know what these sources have told News Nation. Number one, they told us that the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan, were killed first, and they confirmed that Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were killed on the second floor afterwards. And these are some of the other details that they have released. They said that Ethan...
Hold on. Ready?
Confirmed that Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were killed on the second floor afterwards. And these are some of the other details that they have released. They said that Ethan Chapin was killed in the doorway of Xana Kernodle's room before the killer set upon Xana. The sources say that it appeared Ethan had stepped partly into the hallway where the attack may have begun. These sources also say that Ethan Chapin suffered a slash to the neck.
What?
But I have to say that both of these details are in direct conflict with what the coroner had originally told us right here on this program exclusively. And also, they conflict directly with what police have said as well. And those two facts that are in conflict are that all of the victims were in their beds, according to police and the coroner. And according to the coroner, all of the injuries were stab wounds and not slash wounds. So I just want to play for you exactly what it was the coroner said in her words. Were any of them slashed? Were any of their necks cut? Or were these all puncture wounds?
Well, it was a pretty large knife, so it's really hard to call them puncture wounds. And they were definitely stabbings.
Can you tell me, when you say that they might have been sleeping, were they found in beds?
Yes.
So those were the facts that the coroner told us. And like I said,
my butt is not a
it
joke,
is in direct conflict with what these two sources familiar with the investigation are now telling us as well. That obviously needs to be sorted out and likely best in a court of law.
No wonder there's a gag order on this
want to tell
fucking
you
case.
These other.
Jeez. All right, guys. With that said, I mean, this is just crazy. Run it back, play it all the way through. Great episode here, if I may say so myself. You guys are all great and chat and everything you guys have to say. Yeah. I'm gonna hunt down Dylan Mortensen's alleged, shut the fuck up to people, or did that get scrubbed from the internet? But I think it's got to be on one of my lives, so I'll have to dig through my stuff. Thought maybe I could just get Ashley Banfield stuff here, but I think it's scrubbed. So if you guys find it before I do, send it to my email. so I can put it in my next video with J-Lo, you know. J-Lo's on the hot seat. I wonder if her ass is going to get arrested. So you have it. I think I have it. I think I have it. Love all of you beautiful people out there. Thank you so much for all the new members. On your way up, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down. Leave a comment in the comment section of the video. Let me know what you guys think. If this should bring down memory lane. And now I know why we have a gag order. Holy shit. You know, wow. And all these sources close to the families. I know, come on, guys. It's right there in front of your faces on who the sources are. Until next time, what's your email? My email is themindchallenge, all together, at gmail.com. Yes. Lana, can you please hunt down that footage you had from the crowd, the football game the week or so after the 13th? I don't know what footage. Football game. Oh, like the pictures and stuff? From what football game? I don't know. Bringing us all together, guys. One big happy family. All right, guys, go jam out with your clam out. All right. See you on the flip side.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.